Sung Jiho is the global #1 player, and he has been familiar with this ranking since his first year of middle school. The game he is top-notch on is going to shut down their servers today, but Jiho receives a parcel in which he receives a keyboard as a gift from the game company for playing their game. It turns out, the game he played was an online sword fighting PvP game, and the game was so difficult that only 302 players could remain. However, the bad part about it is that this was the only game that could run on Jiho's computer. 2 years later, a game tournament is being held where the players are entering the stadium, but one of them named Li Chaiwan is the captain of Team Swordrush, Korea's national team. During the match, she shows amazing performance by slaying everyone with her sword. On the other hand, everyone shows interest even more than before except for Jiho, who haven't played a single game in 2 years, and he thinks that it is because he was #1 in one sword. So, now no other game really interested him anymore, and he didn't particularly hate them or anything, as it's just that no other game could run on his computer. He then notices bunch of people are standing beside a post which is about an esports club recruitment of the game Swordrush. Later at school, Jiho gets really surprised when he sees that his grades have actually gotten even worse than before, so his friend tells him that they should go to an internet cafe that is close to their school. Later that same day, Jiho decides to go to the internet cafe with his friend, but his friend is being so annoying and making so much noise that it really irritates Jiho the whole time they are there. After playing for a while, Jiho takes a break from his computer and goes to the washroom to freshen up, but when he comes back out and walks into the main area, his eyes suddenly land on a girl who is playing a game called Swordrush, and seeing her play makes Jiho get interested as he starts wondering to himself what kind of game that actually is. Right at that moment, a boy walks into the cafe and comes up to the girl whose name is Ari and tells her that her mother is calling for her right now. Later that evening, Jiho and his friends start walking back to their homes together while they talk about different games they like to play, but then during their conversation, his friend brings up and mentions the game called Swordrush. That night when Jiho gets home, he decides to watch some videos about Swordrush on the internet and gets really surprised when he sees the way that people pilot their characters in this game, because it is so cool that it reminds him of his old days when he used to game. Jiho then gets furious over himself for not finding a game like this which he has pure love for, but then, he does some research about the game's background and finds out that it is the same game he used to play. The next day, Jiho goes back to the esports club recruitment poster and thinks that if Swordrush is simply one sword with upgraded graphics, then he wonders if he could play once again. Just then, the same girl from the internet cafe approaches Jiho and asks if he wants to apply for the club. Hearing that, Jiho quickly says yes even though he didn't want to, and asks if she is in this club as well. The girl then asks him about his tier, but Jiho says that he has no idea, so she quickly tells him that he is not allowed to join. However, the girl tells him that the application method has been changed, which means that a person who wants to join has to go one-on-one against the president of the club. Later after class, Jiho asks his friend to come with him to the internet cafe, but a local delinquent scolds Jiho as he was standing on his way. Jiho then tells his friend that he wants to play games again, and he stayed up and watched Swordrush videos all night. So, now he wants to hit global rank 1 in Swordrush once again. On the other hand, Ari, who is the president of the club, also arrives at the internet cafe around the same time, but the guy working at the counter asks her to watch and manage the counter for him because he has to go and get some work done somewhere else. At the same time this is happening, Jiho and his friend are sitting down and playing Swordrush on one of the computers in the cafe. After they start playing, Jiho's friend begins to explain the game instructions to him by saying that it is a 4 versus 4 team player versus player game, and the maps in this game are much smaller than the maps that are found in other games, and the character movement speed is also generally much faster than usual. Following that explanation, Jiho and his friend continue to play the game together on their computers, and Jiho manages to completely destroy his friend in the match while thinking to himself that it is the same exact game that he used to play back in the old days. As the memories flood back to him, Jiho then starts crying because he remembers the game he used to play all those years ago, and tells his friend with emotion that he is going to join the esports club at their school and that he is definitely going to crush the president when he gets there. At the exact same time, Ari, who is standing at the counter, overhears everything that Jiho is saying. The next day at school, Changhyun, who is Ari's childhood friend from when they were little kids, starts thinking to himself that Ari probably does not even know the background history of that particular game, because the majority of professional Swordrush players actually played the game called One Sword before they switched over. While he is thinking about this situation, he then realizes and thinks that if Ari really wants to make a competitive team that can win tournaments, what she needs the most right now is a high-ranker player from the game One Sword, so that she can become a professional gamer as soon as it is possible for her. Later on, Changhyun decides to visit the internet cafe where he finds Ari working behind the counter and managing the place, and he walks up to her and asks her if there are no rankers among all the people who applied to join the esports club. Ari responds back to him by asking him a question of her own about if he really thinks that professional rankers would just be rolling around and hanging out in their small neighborhood area. After saying that, Ari then tells him that there was one guy who came to the cafe earlier who really pissed her off, and he was talking about something related to one sword, but when she mentions this detail, it really catches Changhyun's attention and makes him interested. That same night when Jiho gets back home, he finds his old strategy notes that he wrote for the game a long time ago and starts thinking to himself that his friend was actually right about the game because the characters in it are all pretty similar since they just have really high health points and high attack damage stats, so he realizes that he is going to have to adapt his playing style to this new version. After thinking about the game for a while, he then starts thinking about Ari and wondering to himself if she is going to be there at the club or not, and he begins imagining in his head how Ari is going to complement his amazing game style and how she is going to ask him personally and directly to teach her how to. Before all that, Jiho thinks that he has to pick a character for now and find one that's similar to his character from One Sword. The next day, Jiho decides to take the test for the club, but his class teacher stops him because there is a supplementary exam for underachievers like Jiho. Later, Jiho's friend arrives at the internet cafe where lots of people including local delinquent are there to take the test for the club. The matches then continue with Ari beating each of them at 1 versus 1 while Jiho is trying his best to complete the exam before the time runs out. Sometime later, the teacher enters the classroom to ask the students if they are done with exam, but she finds out that Jiho is missing and he dropped the apology note on his desk. Jiho finally arrives at the internet cafe where his friends tell him that it's now his turn and he is the last one. Jiho then gets to his seat and his friend wonders what character he is going to pick because he wants him to pick something from offense or defense or else he is going to lose. Surprisingly, Jiho picks a utility character named Spiro, and this surprises everyone as they wonder why not a DPS or a tank. On the other hand, Ari starts wondering to herself what kind of character Jiho is picking for this match, but then a thought crosses her mind that he might actually be making fun of her and not taking this seriously. After the character selection is done, the match begins with Ari immediately attacking Jiho with her character, and she continues to attack him over and over again without stopping for even a second, but Jiho manages to dodge each one of her attacks smoothly. When Jiho's friend sees what is happening on the screen, he becomes really shocked because he starts thinking to himself that Jiho is not able to get a single hit in on Ari at all, but at the same time he is also not getting hit by any of her attacks either. While the battle continues between them, Ari thinks to herself that she cannot seem to get an effective hit on him no matter how hard she tries with her attacks, but she remembers that she can increase her attack range when her ultimate abilities meter gets charged up completely to full power, and then she plans in her head that she will hit him with a basic attack first and follow it up immediately with her ultimate ability right after that. On the other side of the match, Jiho is actually quite amazed and impressed at how fast he can move around and control his character in the game, but then he decides to charge forward towards Ari, and when Ari tries to attack him during his charge, he uses his basic counter-attack skill to block it and then attacks her back using his Sparks ability. After landing that hit, Jiho continues to throw multiple attacks at her one after another even though the attacks are barely doing any significant damage to her health bar at all. As the fight goes on, Jiho eventually manages to corner Ari into a tight spot on the map, but instead of attacking her when he has the advantage, he suddenly backs off and moves away, which surprises everyone who is watching the match. Following his retreat, Jiho then starts taunting her character to provoke her, but deep down inside his mind he cannot believe how puny and small the amount of damage he caused to her was, and if this battle continues like this for much longer, they are both going to run out of stamina eventually. All of a sudden, Jiho's monitor completely turns off, but then Ari's character moves forward to attack him while he cannot see his own screen, so instead of getting hit directly by her attacks, he quickly looks at the other screen that is nearby in the area and moves his character away from danger. Even though he tries his very best to dodge all of her incoming attacks, Ari still manages to land some powerful blows on him, which makes Jiho's friend start wondering to himself why Jiho is playing like this right now when he was playing so well and skillfully earlier. As the fight continues, Jiho then gets really worried and starts thinking that Ari is probably going to use her ultimate technique ability very soon, so even if he somehow manages to dodge this ultimate move, he will still lose the entire fight to just a single basic attack from her. While he is panicking, he then thinks back and remembers the time when his trash and old computer used to drop frames all the time while he was gaming, so he remembers asking his mom back then that he really needs a new graphics card to watch his online lectures properly, but his mom just told him to get lost and did not buy it for him. Instead of giving up, he made the decision to play the game purely by listening to all the sounds that came from it. Back in the present, Jiho decides to use the same exact method he learned back then and just moves around all over the place on the map without staying in one spot at all. When the people watching see what is happening on the screen, they start thinking that he got hit a couple of times by Ari's attacks, so at first they thought that Spiro's true skills were finally showing through, but now they are starting to think that he was actually just toying around with her the whole time. When Ari hears people saying this about her match, she gets really furious at the situation, so she makes the decision to use her ultimate move to finish this fight once and for all, but Jiho does not give up either even when he sees her ultimate coming, and he uses his super counter ultimate skill at the same time as well to block it. When the dust settles after both ultimates clash, Jiho manages to win the entire match in the end, which completely surprises everyone who was watching them play. The next day after their classes are finished at school, Ari meets up with the local delinquent student at their school in a quiet area and tells him that Jiho failed the exam they had. As she explains the situation, it turns out that Jiho forgot to finish her off at the very last second of their match when he had the chance, so she took advantage of that mistake and used her ability to kill him instead, and with that final move she managed to win the match after all. Changhyun enters the internet cafe and realizes that Jiho might be the #1 player for one sword. Jiho and his friend then leaves the cafe, and on their way out, Jiho asks him about what a dot is, but Jiho's friend asks him why he is writing everything down. Jiho tells him that he is reviewing today's game and he is going to do some research about it, but the guy asks him why he isn't disappointed when he was about to beat a ranker. Back in present, Ari tells the delinquent that she already hired bunch of players for her club and introduces them to the guy. After that, Ari and her team do some scrim practice and Ari think that with her team, she can easily become pro. Just then, the teacher shows up and scolds everyone, but none of them listens, so they take them except Ari and the delinquent. Later, they sit down together at the cafe to talk about what happened, and the delinquent student asks Ari if she could possibly take Jiho with them on the team because he was playing really good during their battle. The next day, Ari makes an announcement in front of the entire class that there was a small incident that happened recently and now there are 3 available spots open in the Esports club for new members. After telling them about the open spots, she then tells all of them that they need to submit an application form by the end of classes today if they want to join, and if there are too many people who apply for the limited spots, they will hold an internal test to narrow down all the applicants. When the students in class hear that she is planning to do this, everyone gets really furious, so they tell her to go and find people on her own if she is going to be so picky. Later that same day, Changhyun shows up at the restaurant where Ari is working and asks her if she really thinks there is no one at all that she can take on the team right now, but Ari responds firmly that she does not want to take Jiho on the team no matter what happens or what anyone says. Just then at that exact moment, Jiho and his friend show up at the restaurant out of nowhere, and he walks up to Ari and asks her to please give him one more chance for the test so he can prove himself. Jiho tells her that he has a condition, and that is, if he wins, they should let Jinyoung join too. Jiho and Ari then plays their match, and this time, Jiho takes a completely different character that surprises everyone. Ari wonders if it's possible to improve so much within such a short time, and now that she is playing against him with more composure, she noticed that he has really good reaction time and game sense. The match then continues with Jiho completely dominating it by beating up Ari, and eventually, he manages to win. Hearing that, Jiho then gets really furious at Ari and asks her why she was not playing properly during their match, but she calmly responds back by saying that he picked a character that had an advantage over hers in the matchup and she was actually testing his skills in certain different departments to see what he could do. Following that, she mentions that he clearly has a high game comprehension level and his mechanics are really good, so there is absolutely no reason at all not to pick him for the team. On their way back home, Jiho turns to Jinyoung and asks him if he does not like the esports club or something like that, but Jinyoung tells him that it is not that he hates it at all, but everyone in the club is so skilled and talented that it feels like he is guilty for even being there with them. Just then out of nowhere, a girl from the esports clubs whose name is Soyeon approaches both of them on the street and asks them in a friendly way if she could be friends with them and hang out together. Elsewhere, Changhyun tells Ari not to be so prideful about this whole situation with Jiho, and even if she feels bad about what happened between them during the test, Jiho's skills are absolutely the real deal and cannot be denied by anyone. However, Ari replies back to him that she does not feel bad about losing to him at all, but she is actually angry because she poured her entire heart and soul into gaming for so many years, but it feels like all her efforts and hard work were completely wasted. The next day, the teacher informs all the club members that their esports club has been officially approved by the school administration, and now he is going to tell them about all the positions that each member will play on the team. As everyone listens carefully, he explains in detail that Ari is going to be the main DPS damage dealer and Jiho is going to be the main utility support player, and Soyeon is going to be an all-rounder who can play multiple roles along with Jin Young, who will also be flexible. After the meeting is done, Changhyun walks up to the teacher and gives him a list of all the other schools in the area and tells him that it would not be a bad idea at all to prepare for a practice match against one of them soon. Later, Changhyun gives the teacher a list of the other schools and tells him that it wouldn't be bad to prepare for a practice match. On the other hand, the delinquent student challenges Jiho to a match because he really wants to see him crawling and begging at his feet after losing badly. When he hears this challenge, Jiho replies to him that he really needs to go home and do more research on Sword Rust to improve his gameplay, and he does not even have any money to go to an internet cafe to play the game either. The next day, Jiho receives a text message on the club group chat that tells everyone that they have to meet up at the internet cafe today for practice, but then to his annoyance, the delinquent student once again shows up out of nowhere to bother him. After that, the delinquent starts following Jiho around almost everywhere he goes, including even the washroom, which makes things really awkward. Eventually Jiho gets really frustrated with this constant following and tells him to stop doing this right now, but the delinquent starts swearing at him, so Jiho says that if he promises not to swear when talking to him anymore, he will finally accept his match proposal. After making that agreement together, they all head over to the internet cafe as a group where the delinquent tells Jiho to play as the character Spiro, but then the delinquent himself decides to choose the lava-style map for their battle arena. When he sees the character selection, Jin Young gets really surprised to see that the delinquent's character is an offensive-style healer who can do self-healing and attacking at the same time, and now it is clear that he wants to torment Jiho badly. The match then continues with the delinquent showing off his amazing skills and techniques right in front of Jiho to intimidate him, and then the intense match goes on for a full 10 minutes without either player giving up at all. When Jin Young sees how well Jiho is playing against such a skilled opponent, he starts wondering to himself how Jiho is even capable of doing this after only a few days of playing Sword Rust as a beginner. After some time passes during their gaming session, Soyeon and Ari also arrive at the internet cafe to join everyone, and they all start playing practice matches together as a full team. Sometime later, Changhyun joins them at the cafe as well and announces to the group that he has successfully organized a friendly match against another school team for them. On their way back home after practice is finished for the day, Changhyun stops both Jin Young and Jiho on the street and tells Jin Young directly that he has to start proving his worth and value to the team as well, but Jiho jumps in and tells Changhyun that if there is anything at all that Jin Young lacks in his gameplay, it is only because he has been playing alone by himself until now, but now Jiho is going to help him improve and get better. The next day, Changhyun informs everyone in the club about how friendly matches work and help distinguish which teams are good enough to go up to the tournament level, and he explains that they can gain the necessary school competition points through these practice games, which allows them to participate in the official cup competition later on. Changhyun then says that if they manage to defeat a school team that competed in the tournament the previous year, then they are going to receive additional bonus points on top of their regular points, so they are actually at a pretty good advantage in that situation. Lastly, Changhyun reveals that their opponent team is going to be a bunch of first-year students, which is good news, and this information makes Jiho start thinking to himself that it is a good thing for them because the coordination and teamwork of the first-year players should not be as good or worse than the second-year players who have more experience. However, when she hears this news, Ari is quite pissed off and annoyed about the whole situation and says out loud that she was the top scorer for their Esport Majors entrance exam when she took it. When they hear this surprising fact, everyone in the group is even agreeing to have a match with a team like theirs. Getting curious, Jiho decides to ask her why she came to a normal regular high school in the first place instead of going to an esports school, so she replies back to him that it is because her parents strongly objected to it and did not allow her to go. Jiho finally understands why she has been so serious about gaming all this time, and he promises that he will win this friendly match no matter what happens. After the meeting ends, Soyeon asks Jiho and Jin Young if they are going to the internet cafe again, but Jiho tells her that they are not going today. At the same time, Changhyun asks Ari if there is anything more she can do to prepare, because he believes their opponent is Yongju High, so she needs to get ready properly since the match is going to happen the day after tomorrow. Ari tells him there is no time left to prepare any strategies, and instead, she will use this match as a chance to check the skills of the members. 2 days later, it is finally match day, and Jiho is the first one to arrive at the internet cafe, but then he sees Yongju High's school van, and the esports team gets out of it. After a while of waiting around, Ari and Soyeon show up at the internet cafe where the match is supposed to take place and wonder if they are the only ones here from their team, but Ari gets really surprised when she sees the opponent team already sitting there and ready to play. Eventually, the other members of their team also join them at the cafe, and there is only 10 seconds left before their first match begins against the opponent. As the setup is explained to everyone, they find out they are going to play on a zero-gravity map for this competition, and the match will be played in the 4 vs 4 elimination mode, and the first team to reach 3 wins out of 5 total rounds will be declared the winner of the friendly match. Moreover, friendly matches like this one are played on a special tournament realm server that tracks everything automatically. The match then begins with both teams charging directly at each other across the zero-gravity map to start the fight right away, but one of the opponent team's players moves in a very distracting and unusual manner that really surprises both the teacher who is watching the match from the side and Jin-young who is playing and trying to focus on his own character. After watching the strange movement, Jin-young quickly realizes in his mind that in a zero-gravity map like the one they are playing on, players can actually accelerate their speed by jumping off rocks, and now he understands that the enemy team is planning to raise their movement speed by at least 3 times faster than normal. When they see that Jiho's team is not reacting much, the opponent team then starts cheering loudly and celebrating early, thinking to themselves that the other team is just so useless and bad that they are not even doing anything anymore to defend themselves. As the fight continues, one of the opponent team's players tries to attack the delinquent's character with a strong move, but the delinquent blocks him perfectly and stops the attack, and at that exact same moment while the enemy is distracted, Jiho attacks him from behind with a surprise strike. After that, Jiho keeps going and beats several players from the other team one after another with his better skills, and this makes the whole team start to panic and worry that they might lose. Jiho does not stop there and continues to attack the other team's players all by himself, which surprises the teacher, so he asks Jin-young why Jiho is so obsessed with using that low-damage character. However, Jin-young explains that the players on the other team are losing their focus right now and are probably thinking that Jiho's skills are far above theirs and that they will never be able to beat him. It then becomes clear that Ari had told Jiho before the match that he should pressure their minds so much that they would not even be able to think properly. Jiho's team also gets in action and starts attacking the other team's players. In the round 1 of Swordrush elimination mode, Dano High manages to win, and Ari realizes that Jiho's concentration is good even in actual matches, so with this team she can definitely become a pro gamer. Ari then moves her hand in the air and tells him to give a high five, but just as Jiho moves forward, he falls unconscious on the ground. Everyone then rushes towards Jiho to check on his health and if he is okay, but Soyeon and the delinquent wonders what they should do now. Ari then gets frustrated and realizes that it was 3D motion sickness, and she realizes that he might be playing at a faster speed than normal because of the opponent's taunting. She thinks to herself that the opponent player was accelerating at more than twice his usual speed on the already fast speed row character, and for Jin-young to get better and match that level, he is going to need some serious practice time. Just then at that exact moment, Jiho wakes up from his rest and tells his teacher with determination that he does not want to lose to a team like that at all, so he is going to play in the match right now. However, the teacher tells him with a serious face that the match has already started without him, and it turns out that Jin-young is currently playing as a replacement player in place of Jiho on the team. Earlier, Ari had told Jin-young directly that he is going to play now instead of Jiho because he is also an important part of the team and deserves a chance, but the teacher thinks to himself that Jin-young, who is going up against the skilled players from Yongju High, is completely out of his league and will struggle. Back in the present, one of the players from the opposing team thinks to himself that the guy who has not even completed his ranked placements has probably cracked under the pressure, so he decides to check Jin-young's profile to figure out what kind of player he is, but he cannot see anything except the character Jin-young picked because all the other information is hidden. After that, the player moves in to attack Soyeon, who is using a utility character just like Jiho, and Soyeon thinks that the opponent must be shaken since he has not faced many utility players in an official match before. Soon after, another player from the opposing team moves toward Jin-young to attack him, but to everyone's surprise, Jin-young successfully lands a hit on him, which shocks everyone watching. It is then revealed that the night before, Jiho gives Jin-young detailed strategy notes about all the tank characters he plays, so that Jin-young can understand them better. After that, the players on the opposing team start to feel completely discouraged and think that their next attack will not work either, because the enemy utility player will just come in and block it again. One of the guys suddenly realizes that everything makes sense now, and that they are starting to break down mentally because the opponents are not giving them any time to fight back, and he admits to himself that it was his mistake to underestimate them. He notices that the enemy utility player's movements look a bit slower, and then he realizes that not all of their players are equally skilled. At that moment, Ari tells her team through their communication that Jin Yong will move forward as the frontline vanguard, and he has to endure and survive their first attack at least once, because she will stay right behind him and strike the enemies as soon as they commit to their move. The match then continues with the opponent team's main DPS player leaving everyone's sight and going invisible, but Soyeon decides to follow him into the shadows, wondering to herself if he is going to dodge her attacks again like he did before. When she gets close, the guy suddenly moves forward to attack her with a surprise strike, and she notices right away that his movements and playstyle have been changed completely from what they were doing earlier. On the other hand, Jin Yong tries his very best to attack another guy from the enemy team with his abilities, but his move gets blocked easily and does not connect at all. Earlier, one of the guys on the other team had told his teammate named Minjun to grab their utility player's attention and focus on disrupting him and making his life difficult, and he also tells the rest of his team members that their utilities' movements have gotten really sluggish and slower than before in this match, and their tank character pick has changed as well compared to the previous rounds they played. After giving those tactical observations, he then tries to encourage his entire team by saying that if they lose this match here against a regular high school team, then they are all going to be a bunch of nobodies and failures, and they will not be taken into consideration as serious candidates for the main team when they return back to their school. Back in the present, one of the opponent guys starts thinking to himself that the other team must have purposefully hidden their actual skill tiers and rankings to deceive them and make them underestimate their abilities. When she realizes what is happening, Ari quickly informs her team that they have to hold back and play defensively until Jiho returns to the game and can help them turn things around. The delinquent player thinks if he stalls any longer, he might as well just give up now, so he stops healing his team like a crazy person and charges straight into a 4 versus 1 fight against the whole enemy team. Ari freezes in place because the pressure of leading the team is too much for her, while the enemy team just laughs at the fact that a single healer thinks he can fight all of them alone. The opponent team's player laughs at himself for thinking the enemy team was any good, because these guys are just throwing the game away now. Their DPS player wants to take him on one-on-one just to show off, but the delinquent is not like other healer players because he actually has the reaction speed to back up his attitude. Now the delinquent stands in the middle of 4 enemies with everyone targeting him from every angle, and in this completely hopeless situation, these Psycho smiles because he loves this super aggressive play style full of action, and he really should change roles or something. Ari watches as her last teammate gets beaten up all over the place, and she completely breaks down as a leader. To make things worse, the opponent team's player even carries the delinquent's dead hero around to disrespect him. It is now a real slaughter and a brutal 4 versus 1 situation. Wu Jin has his fun and rudely throws his mouse away because it is all up to Ari now and how she will finish the fight. The opponent team gets all their confidence back with this mess, and they know that Ari is the best player out of the 4, so they are not making the same mistake twice because they want to end the second game as cleanly as possible with a full attack. The 4 of them attack with perfect teamwork, and Mr. Yen watches the final minutes of the fight with worry on his face. Ari feels frustrated and wonders how she ended up in such a bad spot. The opponent team's player goes back to his trash talking because their enemy has no real plans, no teamwork, nothing good at all, and everyone just plays solo at the end, and the main reason is Ari's complete lack of leadership. She just relies on her own skill alone to win the game, and the biggest problem is that she thinks her teammates are only there to support her moves. Right from the start, she goes into this match thinking it is 1 versus 4, and now she faces the obvious result of that mindset. A few days earlier, Changhyun asks Ari if there is anything else they should prepare before the match, because there are only 2 days left for planning. She tells him that 2 days is way too late now. The team gets destroyed and falls apart because she thinks there is not enough time for any real tactics. They get picked off one by one from Jin Yong to Wu Jin because they go in without a clear plan. However, when Changhyun asks her about winning the match, she looks at him like the answer is obvious, because she is sure they will not lose at all, and even if the enemy send all their sophomore players, she thinks they are no match for her. She manages to take out the enemy support player in a 1 versus 4 battles, but there are 3 healthy heroes left against her low HP bar. Ari tries her best to follow their movements, but the speed makes it really hard. Jel knows she cannot take all 3 with just a tiny bit of HP left. Luckily, the blade comes back quickly as soon as she gets her weapon again. Jiho finally wakes up even though he still feels dizzy, and he wants to go back and help. Teacher comes right on time to check on him, and he says he feels better now, but his pale face and sweat say otherwise. He promises not to push himself too hard this time, so his best friend does not have to carry the load alone, but he is too late because the match is already over. Jiho then gets surprised to see that there is no one outside anymore and everyone in his team looks frozen in place, and turns out Jiho's team has lost their first match. The teacher still praises them for doing good work even though they feel disappointed, but they can just think of it as a learning experience. He takes responsibility for what happened today because compared to these kids who gave everything, he did nothing but watch from the sidelines. Ari cannot accept that fact at all, and it frustrates her enough to act like an actual kid. Jiho feels worried about her because he thinks she is crying at that desk, but she is not, she is just really frustrated. Ari then gets mad at Jiho for not telling them that he suffers from really bad motion sickness. He does not know how to respond because he never played to the point of getting motion sickness before, so he actually did not know about it. He just went too hard today. After that, the Dano High team goes their separate ways, but Soyeon tells Jin-young that his spinning attack earlier was really cool and that praise clearly sticks with him. Jin-young and Jiho walk home together, and Jin-young tries to convince his best friend to switch his main hero because with his great skills he would be awesome as a DPS player, but Jiho will never give up on Spearow. It only has speed and acceleration as its good points, and other than that it is complete trash, which is why it has never been picked at the pro level. Jiho insists that it is not garbage because he spent his childhood playing that hero. That does not make sense since he has only been playing Sword Rush for about a month, but Jiho means that he played Spearow in one sword. Jin-young is getting tired of this kid bringing up one sword again, but the two games are really the same with only updated graphics. Jin-young starts to connect the dots, but it sounds so crazy that the game developers would name a hero after him, so Jin-young bursts out laughing. Jiho was truly the best rank 1 player in one sword though. And the current Spearow is designed with the exact same stats that he personally set up. Jin-young thinks about it for a second, and the godlike control and complete domination add up. It hits him that his best friend might truly be a gaming legend. Even through their entire friendship, Jiho did not bother to tell him such important information. His reason is that Jin-young never asked, so he had no reason to bring it up. Jiho humbly admits that he is still a noob when it comes to Sword Rush. He does not want to make a big deal out of his past achievements, and since they made his beloved one sword into a new game, he is determined to claim his spot at the top as the best rank 1 player again. Jin-young feels the honesty and determination in his friend's words and sees how passionate this kid is about the game. He feels regret for slacking off and gives in, letting Jiho stick with his weird choice for his main hero. He gives this fool a smack on the head for not telling him sooner. Meanwhile, the Yangju High team goes back home with their ride, and each member is busy with their own thing. One of them brings up how rare support main players are outside of their school. The Spearow player who destroyed them in the first game played like one of their upperclassmen. The DPS player, meaning Ari, had a familiar playstyle too, though she is more on the aggressive side, but these boys are convinced that their upperclassmen are way better players. Jiho then gets back home, and he is determined to find ways to get over his motion sickness, but the internet is not helpful. It looks like he must figure it out on his own. Meanwhile, the delinquent is grinding for the whole day, and he has been playing for almost 7 hours straight with 3 more hours to go. Soyeon is back in her study school, but her thoughts keep drifting back to that first game win, and that victory puts a real smile on her face. Jin-young is flipping through the notes once again. He gets to the page where he stopped reading and reads Jiho's final instruction that he did not bother to look at before. Ari's wrist is still feeling sore without telling anyone, and her thoughts keep drifting back to Jiho because if it was not for his motion sickness, things could have turned out differently. She catches herself thinking these thoughts that her past self would never have thought before. Changhyun suddenly calls her in the middle of the night, and the first thing he does is make fun of her about getting beat earlier. On the other hand, the teacher works hard in his office trying to take responsibility for their recent loss and makes a strategy plan for the Dano High team. Meanwhile, Jiho is still up in his room making a strategy of his own. He already found a workaround for the lag with sound play, and now he needs to do something about his motion sickness. He was pretty much fine on flat maps, but he cannot last longer than a single round on maps without gravity, and it is even worse when he gets acceleration boosts. The effects are so bad that he needs 1 or 2 rounds to recover. If he cannot fix this issue, that defeat will definitely happen again. Earlier he also noticed something odd with the captain's wrist. For now, he is going for the most obvious solution and will try to force himself to get used to it. The next day, Jiho ditches his bike to ride a taxi, and he hypes himself up to get through the whole ride without getting sick, but it does not take long for him to lose against the motion sickness and throw up on the streets. It is a normal day at Dano High, and Jin-young arrives early and sits in his seat with his eyes closed. He tries to remember the day of the match, and in his mind, Soyeon's praise of his skills is really exaggerated. He also remembers how Jiho stood up for him by promising to help him improve his game and recalls how enthusiastic his best friend was while handing him a personalized training guide. He is aware that the mistakes he made during the friendly match had nothing to do with his low rank and everything to do with his attitude. He was simply not committed enough. Even if he does not substitute for anyone in the next match, he is determined to stop weighing everyone down. Jiho sits at the back and sees his best friend lost in thought. Meanwhile, the delinquent is sleeping soundly at the back of the class after grinding games all night long. Jiho knows Jinyoung really well and is certain that this guy is overthinking things again. Classes wrap up and it is about time for everyone to gather in the clubroom. Changhyun asks the teacher if it is okay for him to take over the briefing today, and he announces that the date of their next friendly match has already been decided. He took the initiative to book and schedule the whole thing. Thanks to Changhyun, the club has been able to set up games with multiple schools. Their next opponent is Pogok High, and they lost in the preliminaries during last year's tournament, and they got eliminated early because they faced Yangju High at its peak form. In terms of teamwork, Dano High does not have a shot in their current state, and that is why Changhyun took the time to analyze the replay of the last match. All he could say about their performance was that it was a complete mess. Other than charging in blindly, they did not use any real strategy. They got to play against Yangju thanks to Ari's reputation, but they blew their chance to earn tournament points, and they were beaten badly as soon as Jiho was out of the picture. Changhyun explains that Soyeon and Ari will be playing dual DPS, Jiho will be the designated support, and the delinquent will be the healer. Changhyun does not even want to use Jinyoung, but he will probably tank. They will go with pure offense, and they must always win the first round when they are at their peak performance. For the second round, stalling is their top priority, and Jiho will rotate back in round 3 with full offense to win another round. It might be unconventional, but sticking with this strategy during friendly matches would build teamwork while they earn tournament points. They must take full advantage of Jiho's godlike skills to rack up wins so Ari can buy the time that she needs. Woo Jin does not have an opinion because the plan is solid, and Ari accepts that she does not have much time to debut as a pro. After hearing everything, Woo Jin is the first to show agreement. Soyeon can play every role, but she feels bad that she is not particularly good at any one of them. The teacher thinks that Changhyun's strategy is rational, and using the most efficient method to gain wins is the way to go. It is hard to believe that this high schooler came up with this overnight. Now that there are no objections, they will be implementing it right away. The meeting ends and everyone goes their separate ways, but just as the teacher is tidying up his things when Jiho walks by and accidentally drops the supervisor's folder, so he picks it up and notices the documents inside. It is a strategy report personally made by teacher, but he thinks they are better off with Changhyun's plan. Jiho quickly flips through the papers with excitement, and it seems like the teacher found an answer to his recovery problem. After reading through that strategy report, Jiho and Jinyoung swiftly run to the gaming cafe. They rush to try the teacher's methods and top up their cards to get a seat. They build reflexes and practice according to teacher's strategy. Their supervisor found the perfect way to deal with both of their weaknesses. The more strategies they have, the better. This time Jiho will not let the team lose again. They both sit down to log in, and a young man wearing a hoodie takes notice of them from the next row. They are being so loud, and the young man recognizes their uniform as Dano High. Jinyoung is being arrogant and talks trash about their upcoming opponents, but before he can trash talk Pogok High further, someone comes up from behind to grab his collar violently. After that, Jinyoung notices a guy who turns out to be the main DPS from Pogok High, and the guy looks very angry at him, but Jiho quickly steps in and tries to calm the situation down. Sometime later, Jinyoung goes back to that same guy and offers him a drink as a way to apologize, and he explains that he understands why the guy was so upset earlier, because he believes he would have reacted the same way in that situation. Hearing that, the guy starts to feel guilty and also apologizes for grabbing Jinyoung's shirt, and then he explains that their school used to be well known for its esports major, but their tournament results have not been very good for the last few years. He then adds that he has become more sensitive because of this, and since he is not very confident about his studies, he cannot just sit quietly while people talk badly about his gaming skills too. However, Jiho then gets quite surprised that this guy specializes in games, so he tells him that they should play games together, but that surprises him, as the guy thinks that they are on opposing teams. After that, they play on the same team together. Meanwhile, teacher does some research and thinks that their team needs some teamwork, and the only thing he can do right now is not something that a public high school teacher should be doing, but he still wants to do everything for his students. On the other hand, Jiho selects his usual character that he always plays with, which makes the opponent guy start wondering to himself if Jiho is trying to hide his strategies and game plans by using a familiar pick, but Jiho quickly responds and says that this character is just his favorite character to play. When he sees this selection happening, Jin Young then suddenly pulls Jiho's neck towards him and suggests strongly that it should be much better to play a different character for this specific matchup, so after hearing this advice Jiho decides to pick another character instead of his usual one. After the character selection is finalized, Jin Young then tells both of the DPS players on their team to stick close to their team's healer character at all times, but deep down inside his mind he wonders if he should really have the right to be ordering around a Grandmaster ranked DPS player and someone as skilled as Jiho. After that team discussion, the game continues and Jiho manages to show off some really amazing moves that completely surprise the other guy. The boy also manages to beat up another player from the enemy team successfully, and he thinks to himself that he can probably take care of their main DPS player alone by himself, so he should go back up and help protect their tank instead. However, Jiho tells him through voice chat to go and deal with the enemy player over there, so the guy decides to change his plan and go help Jin Young instead. After moving to a different position, the delinquent boy gets really shocked when he sees Jiho handling the opponent team's skilled player so well, and he wonders in disbelief how that is even possible when Jiho is an unranked player on a completely new team. It turns out, Pogok might not be as well known as Yangju High, but they are up there with the greats when it comes to esports. Taehun's dream was to play for the legendary roster, and he was young and hopeful back then. 4 years ago, the high expectations for the team crumbled in a tournament disaster as they got eliminated in the prelims for the first time in history. The talented students could not take it and crossed over to a different game. Now he is the captain of the Sword Rush class, and his older brother was actually part of the legendary team that fell. Finding Sword Rush felt like fate for him. He also managed to set foot in the tournament last year, but as if the team was cursed, the jaws of defeat claimed their tournament life again. They walked out of the competition with heavy steps, but losing to their rivals at Yangju High was not enough. After all that, he is still denying that he is doing all this to avenge his big brother's fall. If he is here in Pogok, he wants to carry them to the top, and with the addition of this prodigy, the great rank 125 in one sword, he has a ticket to making his dreams a reality, and Jayduk is currently ranked 313th in the Sword Rush leaderboards. The whole Pogok team is about to walk into their practice room, but Jayduk insists that team matches in one sword were not just popular, so 1 versus 1 was the name of the game, and all the great players are established pros now. If their healer recalls correctly, there were only 300 players at the end of that game. The game did not shut down because of the lack of players, but because those 300 got so much better than everyone else that they ruined the game for the casuals. This exact hot-headed nature is the kid's main weakness, and he gets baited too easily. They adapted a style of 2 healers to support the kid as the sole DPS. A lot is riding on Jayduk's skills, but the captain main tank assures him that he has got his back. Looks like they are doing scrims. Back in Changhyun's apartment, he has been replaying and searching their past match. He went over the first match countless times, and it almost feels like he is just watching Jiho's highlight reel. He never played the game himself, but even a casual like him can tell how different he is, and X1 sword players should have an edge in this game, but not to this extent. There are X1 sword streamers that go crazy viral with their godlike plays. They are a cut above the rest compared to normal players, but Changhyun is certain that Jiho would not lose to these high-ranked players in a 1 versus 1. He continues to research deeper and deeper, only to become more certain that Jiho will make his plans possible. In the gaming cafe, Dano High is practicing for their upcoming match. Ari is fighting against another DPS player, but her tank is making her life so much easier. Soyeon and Ari are like Kobe and Shaq with how well they work together. Their delivery and beatdown is severe and ruthless while making casual banter with each other. Soyeon asks the captain how her research is going, but she does not want to talk about school at all. But that is not what Soyeon is talking about though, and she is asking about the captain's research on one sword. Their enemy does not even have a chance to fight back. The two are just chatting casually while slaughtering smoothly, and it turns out that all the blogs have shut down alongside one sword servers. The enemy is hearing their voice comms, adding insult to humiliation, but Ari is sure of one thing though, and that is every pro gamer at the top of the ladder used to play one sword. Changhyun is even doing some research of his own. Soyeon also knows a kid that goes to Pogok High School from Cram School. Pogok High School really has a pretty strong sword rush team. Their sophomore DPS player has some top-tier skills. Hearing the term DPS sparks the competitive nature of the captain. Soyeon heard that their team is projected to reach at least the semifinals solely because of that team. On top of that, they are plowing through friendly matches undefeated. And Ari acknowledges that the hype might be more than just empty air, but still her blade is still itching for another fight to prove herself, and she is determined to murder every single player that stands in her way. A few days later, the match between Dano High and Pogok High finally takes place, and this time Jiho arrives second because Ari reaches the internet cafe before him. Ari asks Jiho why he comes so early, and he explains that he wants to warm up his hands before the match starts, which makes Ari realize that he no longer feels sick or throws up when he warms up his hands. About 30 minutes later, the delinquent and Jinyoung also arrive at the internet cafe, and Jiho starts wondering why Woo Jin is even called the local delinquent when he does not get along with anyone at all and usually just sleeps instead of causing trouble. After some time passes, the members of Pogok High arrive at the internet cafe as well, and their team captain, whose name is Taehoon, politely greets the Dano High team. Jiho then feels surprised when he notices that the guy he met earlier at the PC cafe is not there, and this makes him wonder what that guy and the rest of the team might be planning. At that moment, the teacher, Soyeon and Changhyun also arrive at the internet cafe, and they all do a silly hand-raise thing together before the match starts to pump themselves up, but while they are doing this, Changhyun notices that Ari is wearing something unusual on her arm. Now as the match setup is being finalized, it is revealed to everyone that the map for this important match is going to be the Wailing Pillar Arena, and the game mode they will be playing is going to be elimination style where teams fight until one side is completely defeated. Jiho then starts thinking to himself that they ended up going with 2 DPS damage dealers just like how Changhyun and the other guy prepared and planned it out, so that means everyone on the team is sacrificing their preferred roles for him to succeed, and that is exactly why he does not want to be a burden for anyone on his team. Right at the very start, one of the opposing team's players immediately tries to attack Soyeon with an aggressive move, but Jiho manages to step in and counterattack the enemy player to protect her. Jiho quickly realizes that the enemy team is running 2 healer characters on their composition, so it is actually a counter-strategy to their team's plan to finish the match quickly with burst damage, and because their opposing team composition has such high healing output, their team's damage is not going to be as effective as it could have been against a normal team. Unexpectedly, Ari tells Jiho to attack the other team and go with the strategy. Soyeon then asks Ari if it might be a bad idea if the other team tries to drag the fight out, because that would mean Jiho would not have to push himself too hard. Hearing this, Ari asks Woo Jin if he can take down 1 healer by himself, but he confidently replies that he can even handle 2. After that, Jiho uses his crazy combo together with Ari, and it surprises Taehoon because he thinks it is the first time he has ever seen a combo like that. The 2 healers on the opposing team tell Taehoon not to worry about getting healed, because they promise to keep healing no matter what, but then they suddenly notice that the enemy healer is already right in front of them. Woo Jin then manages to beat both while Ari tries to rush forward. During the fight, Soyeon clearly remembers that Jiho had told her earlier that if they really want to increase their chances of winning this match, they must take down the enemy's main DPS first to protect their own healer from being targeted, and he had also predicted that the enemy team would send their DPS player to block and distract Ari from dealing damage. During that same strategic discussion, he further added to his explanation that if they are able to successfully kill their main DPS player early in the fight, they will definitely have the advantage for the rest of the round, and just as Changhyun said during their practice, there is absolutely no point in drawing this match out into a long battle. Back in the present moment of the ongoing match, Soyeon tells Ari over their team voice chat that it has been a while since she wanted to play together with her like this and have fun. After working together perfectly, Ari and Soyeon manage to beat the other team's players together with their combined abilities and show an amazing performance that impresses everyone watching. Elsewhere, Jiho and the other members of his team then also work together with great coordination, and they all use their abilities to throw the enemy guys away from the bridge area and manage to win the entire game with a decisive victory. Just then, right after the match ends, a guy from the opposite team arrives really late to the internet cafe, which makes one of his teammates get furious at him for being so irresponsible, so their leader Taehoon tells the angry teammate to calm down and let the late guy sit down and play in the next match instead. In the next match, it is Jinyoung's turn to play instead of Jiho, since Jiho is going to rest for a while, but Changhyun is not very happy with this strategy. The teacher explains to him that the result of a match is not always decided by a plan made beforehand, because the game keeps changing during the match, so the players also need to make decisions on their own while playing. He then tells Changhyun not to worry too much about the outcome, because everything is still going according to the strategy, and as his teacher, he is impressed by Changhyun's analysis. After that, the teacher asks Jiho about his condition, and Jiho says that he will be fine after resting for a bit, and thanks to Pogok High slowing the match down earlier, he did not have to move around too much. Meanwhile, the players from Pogok High start to feel frustrated and think that Dano High is far more aggressive than they originally expected. Taehoon then tells his teammates to stop whining about what already happened, and he explains to them that the reason they lost the previous round was because they simply did not have enough damage output to finish off their enemies, and if Jae-duck is playing in the next match, they are definitely going to win without any problems. Afterward, the next round begins with both teams loading into the map, and Jiho suggests to his team that they should do anything they can to buy some more time again just like they did before, which makes Woo Jin get furious. Soyeon then tells Jin Young that he is really important in this particular match, so he should try to make some good plays and smart decisions like he did last time when he performed well. Following the start of the round, Jin Young then continues to aggressively attack an enemy player with his abilities, but the enemy player just suddenly disappears from his sight completely. The same player appears from behind him out of nowhere and attacks him with a surprise strike, but thankfully Woo Jin manages to heal him at the perfect time before he dies. After that, Jin Young starts to understand the enemy DPS player's attack pattern and the way he moves around the map, but Ari tells him through their communication that if he can block those attacks, then he should not feel scared or hesitate at all. Jin Young keeps dodging the enemy's attacks one after another, and his movements slowly start to improve, but then the enemy player suddenly shifts his focus and targets another member of their team instead. After some time, Jae-duck manages to hit Jin Young with his special move, which quickly drains his health bar, and Jin Young ends up dying. In the end, Dano High loses the match, and everyone looks at Jin Young as if it was all his fault. At that moment, Jiho arrives and tells Jin Young that he actually played very well, but this time, he wants to switch places with Ari. After the second round, the opponent team players start celebrating their victory, but Taehoon tells Jae-duck that if he is late again then they won't let him play. Meanwhile, Ari is shocked to hear that Jiho wants to switch places with her, but Jiho tells her that there is something he prepared with Jin Young, so they will win. The teacher then tries to ask Jiho why he is doing this as Ari is the captain, but Ari says that she will do as Jiho says. During the third round, Jin Young wonders what Jiho is even thinking as he told him to just charge in, but the only thing that is going to happen is him getting aimed at. Jin Young then goes up against a tank player and thinks that it feels much easier now after having to deal with a DPS earlier. At the same time, Taehoon realizes that the other team is trying to distract their tanks and then attack from the back, since they probably believe the damage will be lower because of the two healers. Taehoon then looks at Jae-duck and feels surprised when he notices that Jae-duck looks scared of Jiho. Jae-duck tries hard to attack Jiho, but Jiho easily dodges the move, which makes Jae-duck wonder if Jiho is doing it on purpose to provoke him. As the match continues, Jiho tells Soyeon that he will try to pull the enemy DPS's attention toward himself, so she should focus on dealing with their healer instead. Jiho then thinks to himself that Jae-duck seems to have calmed down again, and even though Jae-duck is aiming straight for his face, he is still staying calm and focused. However, Jae-duck thinks to himself that as long as his ultimate skill connects and hits the target, he can easily finish off the low defense Spiro character with a powerful combo skill attack right after. At that same moment, Jiho tells Soyeon through the team voice chat that he is going to use his ultimate technique ability very soon to counter the enemy. While preparing for the attack, Jiho thinks strategically to himself that their DPS players' combo attacks are really good at building up the ultimate meter, so it fills up very quickly, and he is going to use his own ultimate ability as soon as the opponent player uses theirs first. At that crucial moment in the match, Jae-duck finally uses his ultimate move ability and tries to attack Jiho with all his power to eliminate him, but Jiho just dodges the attack smoothly by moving out of the way, and then he immediately uses his own ultimate technique ability right back at Jae-duck to counter him. With that final decisive move connecting perfectly, Jiho's team manages to win the entire round, which ties up the match score. Right after the round ends, Jiho quickly gets up from his seat and runs over to where Jae-duck is sitting at his computer and says to him that they have something important to talk about together. It turns out, Jiho, who attached a motion sickness patch, was in a good condition and the last match finished in the blink of an eye. Jin Young then starts celebrating even more because their team wins the match today, and with that victory everything changed. Soon, the teacher visits the principal's office and tells him to let them use the clubroom until the late-night studying time as he wants to nurture their students' dreams. However, the principal asks him about the students' grades, so the teacher replies that Changhyun and Soyeon are students with some of the highest scores in the school, and other than those two, they are ranked in the middle. The principal then says that if more than one student's grades drop significantly during the upcoming final exams, he can seriously consider it to be the end of the esports club's activities at their school permanently. Meanwhile, Ari asks Changhyun if he is furious and upset that they did not properly use his tactical strategies and plans during the match, but he says calmly that he was not angry about it at all, so Ari gets confused and asks him why he left the internet cafe early yesterday then. Going back to what happened yesterday after the match ended, Jiho had run over and hugged Jae-duck tightly and said that he cannot believe that he would meet someone he used to play with back in the old days of the previous game. When Jiho hugged him, Jae-duck asks him if he is really the one who was playing the Spiro character in the match, so Jiho confirms and says that he is indeed that player. After getting confirmation, Jae-duck then asks him how he managed to know and recognize him when they only played one single match together today, but Jiho says that he cannot forget the one person that challenged him the most and gave him the hardest fights back in their gaming days. When he hears Jiho say those meaningful words, Jae-duck starts tearing up and says that he was just really surprised as well to see Jiho again, and he asks Jiho why he did not play Swordrush until now if he was so good. Back in present, Changhyun tells Ari that Jiho entered the match, so there is no way they would lose with him following his strategy. Just then, the teacher shows up and announces that from now on, they can practice in the clubroom until late night instead of doing that in the studying time, which makes everyone excited. But when the coach also mentions that if their grades drop on next test, they will return to how it was originally, the team's mood changes. After that, Changhyun informs everyone that the strategies will be made from now on so that when Jiho is playing, they are going to be playing around Jiho, and when Jin-young is playing, they are going to be playing around Ari. He further tells Jiho that he will let him borrow a computer, so he should play ranked games from now on. They should see his real skills. Changhyun also mentioned that the YouTuber Gyurup and the pro player Jin-A wants to see him. Later that night, Jiho brings the new PC home and starts trying the game on it to see how it feels. About 2 hours into a normal match, he manages to win every single battle he takes part in, without losing even once. Meanwhile, Ari starts thinking about how Jiho is actually better than Jin-A, and this makes her remember a moment from the past. In that flashback, Changhyun tells everyone that Jin-A is currently ranked number 1 in Swordrush, and he explains that there is another game very similar to Swordrush called One Sword. He then says that even though Jin-A never lost his first place position in the Swordrush League, he was always ranked second in One Sword. Changhyun further adds that ever since the ranking system was added to One Sword, the only player who has been able to keep the number 1 rank without losing it is Jiho himself. Back in the present, Ari decides to carefully watch how Jiho controls his character during team fights, but she becomes truly shocked when she notices how he constantly checks his surroundings and the environment at an unbelievable speed, even while fighting in very intense and chaotic battles. As she continues watching him play, Ari thinks to herself that whenever she played with Jiho before, it was always in a 1 versus 1 situation or a situation where she could deal damage freely without worrying about anything else, but now she can finally see how much effort and hard work he actually puts into every single match. Elsewhere at a different time, Jiho starts thinking about his ranked placements, which were delayed and pushed back because he was pouring so much time into team scrimmages and analyzing opponent gameplay footage, and he wonders to himself if he can actually get rank 1 position again like he did in the old game. After thinking it through, he queues up and starts playing a ranked match, and he carefully thinks that if his randomly matched team ends up having 2 DPS damage dealers and 1 healer support, then he needs to take on the tank role to keep things balanced. By doing that, the team becomes 1 tank, 1 healer, and 2 DPS players again, which is a very common and stable team setup. Jiho then uses many different techniques during the match and thinks to himself that he needs to get more familiar with playing like this, so he can perform the same way in real and important games. Somewhere else, Jin-young and Woo-jin are playing games at an internet cafe, and Jin-young wonders if Woo-jin lives nearby because he always plays games with such intensity, like he is ready to fight someone. At the same time, Soyeon is at home cutting apples for her younger sister, who asks if something happened today, but Soyeon replies that nothing bad happened and that she simply feels like she has grown much closer to her friends. Jiho starts another ranked match where his randomly matched teammates start making fun of him and mocking him for choosing a utility support character instead of a damage dealer. Jiho then quickly charges at the enemy team right at the start of the match to catch them off guard, but even though he landed his counter ability successfully on them, and he thinks to himself that there are a lot of skilled players in this placement rank bracket. As the match continues, Jiho eventually manages to defeat his opponent players one by one with his superior mechanics and game sense. After the match ends, Jiho gets a private message from his opponent player asking if they can play a 1 versus 1 match together to practice. Just then at the same time, Jiho also receives another message from Jae-duck through the game client, saying that someone from his esports team named Changhyun wants to meet him in person to talk about something important. The next day, when everyone arrives at school for classes, Jin-young gets punished by his teacher and has to stand in the hallway, and the reason for his punishment turns out to be that Jin-young and Woo-jin were chased out of the PC cafe the day before yesterday for causing some kind of trouble there. Later, while they are at the cafeteria, Jin-young asks Woo-jin why people call him local, but Wu Jin replies that he honestly has no idea why he has that nickname. After that, everyone gathers in the club room because the teacher tells them to start their practice early today. Changhyun also shows up and asks them if their supplementary classes went well yesterday, but it turns out that instead of attending those classes, the whole team actually gathered at the internet cafe together. Back in the present, Jiho asks Changhyun if he can borrow the laptop for a couple more days because he is all ready to play his ranked placement matches now, so Changhyun tells him to use it as much as he wants without worrying about returning it quickly. After that, he then informs everyone in the club about their next opponent team, that is Bonghun Technical High School, which they will face soon. As everyone listens carefully, he explains in detail that because the school competition cup has become a shortcut and easy path to debut as a professional player, the level of competition in high school esports teams has considerably increased over the past few years, and among all those strong teams, Bonghun is the team that has gotten the strongest out of nowhere. He also adds additional information that they are actually quite similar to Jiho's team in playstyle, and they do close-range dog fights probably because of it being a close-range team battle format, and even the special positions like healers and utility support players are forced to fight in close-range battles as well instead of staying back. After explaining all of this, Changhyun thinks out loud that if they play like they always have without changing their strategy, the next match against them will definitely be a real dogfight with tons of action. Just then, a guy named Gyurup, who is a popular and well-known Swordrush streamer, enters the room where they are all meeting. Gyurup then reveals that he actually came here to see the famous Spearow expert player in person, and then he quickly goes over to Jiho, says that he really enjoyed watching the video footage of him facing the strong Yongju High team. Following that, Changhyun then explains to the confused team members that Gyurup received special permission to enter the school premises after promising a generous donation to the school administration for their esports program. Right after saying that, Gyurup quickly calls his employees who are waiting outside to come in, and they bring in a bunch of expensive high-end computers for the team to use for practice instead of having to go to a PC cafe every single time. After delivering the computers, Gyurup leaves the practice room to talk to Jiho outside privately while all the other team members are excitedly checking out the new PC equipment. Just then, after a few minutes pass, Gyurup and Jiho enter the room together, and Gyurup tells the whole team that Jiho said he is going to make his final decision after hearing his teammates' opinions about him making his streaming debut on Gyurup's popular channel. Gyurup tells the entire team that he wants to get Jiho featured on his channel and make an amazing video that will turn him into a YouTube star overnight in just one night. He then gets a notification about his appointment and leaves right away, which makes Jiho think that Gyurup never even gives people a chance to talk back. After that, Jiho tells everyone that he wants the team to focus on the school competition cup, and that he does not care about individual results, because he only wants results achieved as a team. The next day, Changhyun explains to everyone that if the opposing team tries to force one-on-one fights, they will have the advantage since Jiho and Ari are on their side. He also explains in great detail that the reason other teams struggle so much against Bonghun Technical High, even though their team roles are clearly defined and separated and they keep using similar strategies over and over, is because the small details in their plans are very carefully thought out. After that, Changhyun also says to the team that he originally thought that Wu Jin was just a crazy guy who did not know what he was doing, and that is why he was running in as a healer character so aggressively, but after watching Bonghun Technical High's previous matches carefully, he noticed something important, that their healer player, depending on the specific strategy they are using, is at times placed in the very front of the formation very aggressively instead of staying back. Following that, Changhyun then continues to explain more about the opposing team's complex strategy and game plans, and says that he heard from reliable sources that their coach was formerly regarded as a very promising and talented coach in the esports scene, so that is the main reason they will also need to use a carefully prepared strategy this time instead of just playing casually. Out of nowhere, a girl enters the practice room and introduces herself politely as Jin-A to everyone present there. But when Ari sees her face, she gets all excited and starstruck because she is actually a really big fan of her from watching her play professionally. After introducing herself to the team, Jin-A says directly that she came here to this school today because she heard from someone that the famous Spearow player was studying at this school and she wanted to meet him. Jin-A takes Jiho with her to her expensive car parked outside, and on their way to their destination, Jiho asks her curiously if she is really busy these days because of team practice sessions, but she replies that she actually wanted to confirm if he were really the legendary Spearow player or not, and also to seduce him into joining her team. Following that, she explains that she came here specifically to invite him to join her professional team as there is going to be a huge and significant change coming to the pro league scene very soon, and it seems like this new system is completely suited for a player like him with his skills. After driving for a while, they finally arrive at Jin-A's team's professional practice facility building, where she begins to explain the game developers of Swordrush has very high expectations about the Swordrush School Competition Cup this year, and in this important time when there is so much high interest in the game from fans. She then mentions that a week after the school competition, the Swordrush League will open, but Jiho asks her what he has to do with it, so Jin-A replies that he has to fist play a game with her. Jin-A and Jiho then hops on Swordrush together, and Jiho just stares at her character and realizes that it's exactly the type of character skill set that Jin-A would like, and this character has a fast attack speed, so it's advantageous to fall away right as his attacks are finished. Jin-A then tries to attack Jiho, but he immediately dodges her attack but still ends up getting hit. He realizes that it's different pattern than the one she used in one sword, but then, Jin-A once again attacks Jiho, but this time he blocks each one of them and shoots attack at their back. Both then uses their skills to attack each other, and Jin-A gets all excited to see how good Jiho is and wonders if he could use super counter Oswell. Jiho uses his ultimate skill ability to try and finish the fight, but just as he tries to hit Jin-A with the powerful move, his ability suddenly disappears and gets cancelled out, so he gets really confused about what just happened to him. Seeing his confusion, Jin-A explains to him calmly that in Swordrush players can even cancel out ultimate abilities if they time their moves correctly, which is different from other games. After explaining that, she then quickly uses her own ability and attacks Jiho with a devastating combo, and with that final strike Jiho loses the practice match against her completely. Despite losing badly, he does not give up his enthusiasm at all and gets even more excited about learning and improving. When the match ends, Jin-A then walks over to where Jiho is sitting and says that she cannot believe that it has been just 1 month since he started playing Swordrush for the first time, but Jiho asks her seriously if there is anything else important about the game that he does not know about yet. However, Jin-A tells him that there is not really anything else that will have a major influence on his gameplay since he already knows the basics, and since she has confirmed that his skills are legitimate and real, they should start playing ranked games together like they used to back in the old days with her professional team. Later, Jiho tells Jin-A that he recently received an appearance offer to stream on Gyurup's popular channel, which could give him a lot of exposure to fans, but Jin-A asks if he did not tell Gyurup that he was actually the rank 1 player in the old game One Sword back in the day. After thinking about it, Jin-A tells him that he could definitely appear on the stream under the strict conditions of not disclosing his face or his personal information to protect his identity, and they can tell Gyurup the specific conditions through the team manager to make it official. She also tells Jiho very firmly not to play his signature Spiro character on stream because they are going to make his big reveal happen in the individual league tournament instead for maximum impact. After their meeting ends, Jin-A drives Jiho to a restaurant where his friend Jayduk is already waiting for him, but Jayduk becomes completely shocked when he sees Jiho step out of Jin-A's car and realizes that he has actually met the famous Jin-A in person. When the two of them sit down together, Jiho excitedly tells Jayduk that he has decided to sign a professional contract with Jin-A's team and become a pro player, but hearing this only makes Jayduk feel even more jealous than before, because now Jiho will be able to stay close to her and train with her on a regular basis. Jayduk then asks Jiho if he has a match scheduled with Bonghun Technical next week, explaining that his middle school friend Sungmin goes to Bonghun High and recently told him that he wants to talk to Changhyun about team analysis. Back in the club room, Changhyun cannot hide his frustration because it feels like the team is not adjusting well to the new strategy training at all. Right now, Jin Young is lost in his own thoughts, remembering the days when Changhyun used to rush off to cram school instead of staying to guide and watch over their practice. As for Woo Jin, he finds this new play style way too dull and slow for his taste, so he slowly starts to zone out and stop paying attention. Changhyun then begins to realize that maybe this kind of responsibility is harder than he expected, and he starts to understand that this is what Ari has been dealing with almost every single day while managing the team. Ari, on the other hand, feels a bit amused because now it is finally her friend's turn to experience the struggles of leading the team. Meanwhile, the two girls are not having any trouble at all, since they already understand the new strategy quite well, but they still feel slightly uneasy because they are practicing without Jiho being there. The night before, one of them could not stop feeling curious after seeing her idol personally come to see Jiho, and now she really wants to find out the truth behind Jiho's overwhelming dominance in one sword. Ari decides to do some research on Jiho and finds out that Spiro disrupted the game, defeating even the pros. Later he released guides to close the skill gap he himself widened, sparking a renaissance where elite players dominated, leaving the casuals behind. Ari thinks that if one sword shut down its servers 5 years ago, he must have ruled at least 6 years ago, and that means he dominated the entire game back when he was just a grade school student. If there are people who hate Spiro for making the game too hard, many also defend him, including the top 300 players, and this is where Ari finds out that the Sword Rush heroes are based on Jiho's strategies from back then. Afterward, Jiho gets notified that Changhyun will be hanging out in the club more often. He is just happy to arrive and get started with training. Today they are aiming to practice in groups of 2 while teacher catches him up. As for everyone else, they will keep perfecting their roles. They are doing this to deal with Bonghun High's strategy of front-lining their healer to bait the enemy team into one-on-one battles. Jin Yong is salty that his genius best friend gets everything so easily while he gets drilled by Changhyun from behind. As always, their mind came up with the strategy to counter the almost invincible Bonghun High. It involves cutting off the frontline healer, so Woojin's role will be vital. From the map alone, Jiho can already deduce that if a DPS goes after the healer, they self-heal. If it is a tank, speed is a priority. If it is support, it is a better healing contest. Jiho, the genius that he is, already knows the core of the enemy's moves. From this, Jiho posits that they could use Woojin's aggressive play style to its fullest. They will essentially overload the enemy healer's job to maintain their overall team health. That is where he comes in. With Ari and Soyeon taking advantage of the opponent's defense as they scramble to get healing from their healer, it is a well-rounded strategy. While Jiho sits on the bench, this means that if he subs in, he will be in charge of dealing with Bonghun's very own captain. To make this work, Changhyun is going full drill sergeant with the practice. Changing the topic, teacher asks him how the pro workplace tour with Jaina was yesterday. That is when this absolute airhead casually drops the bomb that he agreed to sign with S91. Everyone stops in their tracks after hearing that unbelievable sentence. He continues that the team's other trainees will also be playing in the school tournament, so he will be joining them officially after the tournament ends. That is quite a bomb that he drops. Signing with the best pro team after playing the game for just a month is such a flex. As for the team's practice, S91 also promised him some joint training with the team's trainees. This means that they can play together with the best upcoming talents, and lastly, he reveals that he agreed to be featured on Gurup's channel this very night. Everyone is speechless and Jiho is wondering if the Gurup part is a bad idea, and the teacher says that from now on, they have a pro gamer trainee on their team too, and they congratulate Jiho for taking his first big step into the world of pros. Teacher wants to tell this news to the principal, and Jiho happily agrees to accompany him. The teacher and Jiho then decides to tell the news to the principal, and after learning that Jiho is now part of S91, he promises to do his best to respect the demands brought up by the team manager, and Gurup escorts him inside for a flashy glimpse into the life of a YouTuber, and he keeps asking Jiho about why he is so nervous as they head inside. But he also assures him not to worry because the video will turn out amazing no matter what, and Jiho will not have to say anything in the stream either, as Gurup can handle all the talking from this point. Jin Young finally gets the notification that the part of the stream featuring Jiho has started, and they tune in to watch their teammate on blast for the whole community. Finally, Gurup introduces Jiho, and Jiho wears a Spiro mask while picking Axa due to the viewers voting for the hero to be picked like the good streamer that he is. Gurup starts with a brief explanation of the game and the hero. Now that the battle has started, they will be following Axa, a bruiser-type tank popular with the teens. Axa goes straight for his basic skill infliction, a pure offensive ability. One of the reasons why Sword Rush is so challenging is because of the skills and endless combos. Combining skills and primary skills is the key to dealing greater damage, and Axa only has infliction as his single attacking skill. Starting off with an ability that can leave you wide open is highly unusual, but this time it is effective. The enemy is playing like a noob, completely falling for Axa's superior decision-making. He immediately pushes his advantage, snowballing his perfect opening attacks. But he surprisingly chooses not to finish off the enemy, so they must look at the mini-map instead. Instead of greedily going for the kill, Axa sees his ally DPS about to get cornered by the enemy team and successfully redirects the enemy's attention to himself, and that single decision turns a highly disadvantaged position into an extremely favorable one. Gurup is now in his own world celebrating this one-of-a-kind stream for today. Gina has advised him not to go all out and take it easy for today's stream, but he kind of feels bad for only showing boring and correct plays today. Gurup on the other hand is a slave to the stream, doing anything for views, but Jiho decides to just focus on the remaining game before they end for the night. 10 minutes have passed slowly and Gurup has run out of tricks to entertain the chat, and both are clueless since the match queue does not usually take as long as they have waited. Jiho surprisingly gets matched to a game with the top rankers of the game, and they have Red Riding Mood and some others, and all of them are famous in their own right. It turns out that they hit the live stream jackpot. One of the rankers, high-ranking guy, is watching the stream and proposes that they go 1 versus 1 while the others play 3 versus 3. With the challenge accepted, everyone holds on to their seats as the final game of the placement matches culminates on the biggest stage. The two decide to create some distance from one another first. With a duel as high level as this one, the smallest actions can lead to grave consequences. Jiho with his Spiro mask is locked in and the attack range of both heroes is identical to one another. However, Jiho remembers that the enemy hero has an animation after its attack skill that he can exploit. For now, they are still on equal footing, back to square one, but after the initial clash, chaos ensues as they exchange attacks and blocks as skillfully as they can. As Axa swings his heavy blade, he feels something off as the enemy stops blocking and he freezes mid-attack after sensing some trick. Afterward, high-ranking guy is using the blade in his hero's hands, and he manages to alter the playing field with the cross shot. Jiho then notices that the guy is going for a rapid quad combo. It does not falter though, and all he has to do is block the next incoming attacks as best as he can. After that, the guy tries to use his hang time to cancel the animation of his knockback skill. After being outplayed by the rapid quad combo, Jiho is convinced that his opponent is the real deal. He is forced to defend from the back foot in an awkward position, but this is just not enough to stop the kid. He slashes down and regains some momentum back to his side, but high-ranking guy then pushes forward to get him out of balance once again. It is an intense exchange until Jiho's Axa finds the right timing for a crouch dodge. Jiho easily exploits the huge opening by destroying the opponent's weapon. Not only that, but he also receives MVP for every single round played. This kid will be cemented as a legend in a legendary stream. Jiho nearly passes out in exhaustion after consecutive games and the last intense match. Jiho is now 100% certain that he can never be a YouTuber, and Europe keeps on teasing his viewers about the results of the placements, and everyone is on the edge of their seats. Just then, Jiho gets a text from the S91 management team that it is okay to reveal the outcome right now. All he wants to do is get out of the mask and end the day, and now for the moment of truth, the world's first perfect MVP placement run will be revealed. The next screen just indicates that he will be entering the ranking match again after receiving the maximum points possible for the placements. Even Gyurup, the official streamer of Sword Rush, has not seen this prompt before. The two just sit there in confusion as to what this mysterious screen means. The next day, Jin Yong arrives reasonably early like he usually does, as he wants to ask his best friend how much he got paid after that legendary blockbuster stream, but all the other classmates recognize Jiho as the mythical player from yesterday. After all, he always wears the blue hoodie everywhere and he does not bother to change his voice, but the kids who watch the live stream start to realize that the masked player is Jiho. At the cafeteria at lunchtime, things are pretty much the same because the three teammates munch down on some grub for Schnitzel Day. For breakfast, the best friends have the same diet of 4-cup noodles, the breakfast of champions. While they are peacefully eating, Jiho's phone keeps buzzing with calls and notifications, and they are coming from Gyurup. Jin Yong also does not let go of the chance to mock his best friend's stream yesterday, no matter how big his achievement is, and they go inside the club room fighting like cats and dogs while Ari and Soyeon are focused on practicing. Jin Yong also reveals that Jiho cannot practice today before he himself can even get a word in. Not only does his phone ring with constant calls, but Jiho is also becoming extremely busy himself. He will be visiting the S91 team headquarters with his parents to formally sign his contract. He just wants to get this thing out of the way so he can focus solely on practice. The team is not jealous of his success or anything. There is nothing to gripe about, but he needs to get going since he is needed elsewhere. Jaina herself will pick him up from school and will give him a ring when she is nearby. Among everyone in the team, there is an indescribable space forming around everyone else and Jiho. Jin Yong keeps on teasing him, but he learns just to tune the guy out. Everyone thinks that everything is going smoothly and peacefully. As for Changhyun, he goes to cram school because the team cannot keep up with his instructions. Since Jiho still has time, Ari asks him to look over their practice progress instead. Of course it is not a problem for him, but there is a big problem lying beneath the surface. The four make quite a fearsome team and Jiho watches everyone all at once, analyzing their every action. However, his analysis is interrupted by yet another phone ring. He originally looks at the ID and gasps in a hurry and apologizes to the team, but he must take this important call. Sometime later, the day of the friendly match with Bonghun High finally arrives. Ari is the last to arrive and Jin Yong is arguing that they should have come in together to look cooler, just like the other established teams. They are finally feeling that they are growing into a real gaming team now, and if everyone is warmed up now, they can start with a proper scrim first. The team manages to finish one practice match before Bonghun High arrives. As expected, the clueless opponents look down on them for including a Spiro, and this time the enemy brings a proper coach and the coach whispers something to Hyojin's ear before the round begins. The first round of the friendly match finally begins and Ari motivates everyone, emphasizing that they must forget everything else and focus solely on this moment. They are capable of one-on-one battles, but they need to finish the round quickly. For the opening round, they decide to stick with the original strategy with Jin Young on the bench. The enemy tank player switches to a secondary healer role. With this change, Jiho debates whether he should still target the enemy captain as planned. With no time to waste, he decides to charge forward and stick to the plan. Jiho goes after the Dix played by Bonghun High's captain, and for the main enemy DPS, Soyeon engages with her tank pick. Ari marks one of the healers and Wu Jin takes on the other one, but the enemy forms a 2x2 arrangement of 1 DPS and 1 healer, while Dano High charges forward blindly. In this chaos, a first mistake occurs as the enemy curse slips past Soyeon easily. Instead of one-on-one duels, they are aiming for a deadly double team against Spiro from the start. Jiho has a feeling that the enemies would try something like this. Jiho recognizes that he is not in a favorable position at all, and the more time he spends dodging, the more exposed his teammates will be to danger, but the enemy is expert at tying him up like a chained-up beast. That Kerr is not only relentless but also confident in every attack, and the answer to overconfidence is simply unmatched speed. He catches the enemy off guard with a counter, exploiting the gaps in their offense. Now the frustration has been flipped and the Kerr demands healing, so the healer heals him and he too are now back to square one, and Jiho has no other choice. He can just hightail it out since the enemy healers cannot follow him while dealing with Ari and Soyeon. He is baiting the Kerr to follow him though, and it is effective. All he needs to do is to lure this pesky enemy outside of the healing radius to finish the job. A few meters short of escaping the healing radius, the Kerr stops with a slide. The player even taunts him about what he is going to do now that his bait did not work as intended. So, the plan did not work as planned, but you must never forget that Jiho is Jiho. With a confident smile, he has a contingency plan in mind. Now he uses his built-up speed to leap back in the opposite direction. He runs past the Kerr to mark another player, relieving pressure from Wu Jin, but his decision-making skills to come up with the best course of action under pressure are amazing. If Jiho can execute the switch properly, it would gain the upper hand for the first time in the round. He runs as fast as he can, matching Spiro's increasing speed. But all he sees is Wu Jin's link being skewered by the enemy's blades. Nobody in Dano High has done anything particularly wrong, but with their only healer eliminated, things will only go downhill from there. Looking at it from above, the match has become an isolated 3 versus 4 with the enemy DPS free to roam. Jiho cannot help but wince at this development. This is the weirdest situation he has experienced in a game in a team setting. He blames himself for not being just a little bit quicker. He unleashes various kinds of skills to beat up the enemy with astonishing speed. Just when he thinks he is done with the beating, he skips past him and takes aim again. This time it is a barrage of back attacks that make the enemy a stationary target for practice. Right about now, Captain Ari should have her skills ready off cooldown to retaliate, and that is indeed true. With the swing of the sword, Fall Flare is released to kill Rapunzel, evening the field. But a second feed signal shows that the recently regained equal footing might be lost. Soyeon has fallen under the overwhelming force of a DPS and healer duo, and she apologizes for failing to withstand the double team. During the second round, it turns into a battle of strategy versus strategy, and the moment Jiho steps forward, Bonghun Technical High responds by bringing out their strongest plan. Jiho's team manages to defeat their opponents and shows an incredible performance, but Jin Young thinks to himself that if he can push his opponent a little farther from that spot, he might create a good chance for his team. Just then, one of the opposing players attacks him, so Wu Jin quickly steps in and heals him right away. However, one of the players from the other team starts wondering why the healer is playing so aggressively, and he also remembers that they even picked Spiro in the first round, which makes him think that this team is really strange and unpredictable. Bonghun Technical High begins to slow down and struggle, even though they tried their very best to adapt to the new strategy that Dan High was using against them. As the game played out exactly according to Dan High's prepared strategy and plan, all the team members felt a strange sense of joy and satisfaction that was completely new to them and different from their usual matches. After that coordinated team effort, Wu Jin manages to attack one of the snakes-looking character players on the enemy team, which makes that player wonder how Wu Jin could possibly do that much damage while being just a healer character. Ari then gets surrounded by 3 enemy players at the same time, and she thinks that even though she would definitely die if the enemy healer decided to attack her right now, she strongly believes that if the other team's healer player plays like Changhyun predicted and said he would, then he would prioritize healing his own teammates instead of attacking her. Just then, Wu Jin charges forward at the other team's snake character player with complete determination and manages to eliminate them from the round completely with a well-timed attack. Soon after that, everything went exactly according to Changhyun's carefully prepared plans and strategies, and with that final push Don High manages to win the entire match against their opponents. After the victory screen appears, Jiho then walks over to where Ari is sitting and tells her confidently that he is going to win this next round no matter what happens. At the same time in a different area, the other team's coach is talking to one of his players and informs him that they are going to adjust their strategy a little bit again to counter Don High's playstyle. As they discuss their new plan, the coach then tells the player that Spiro, who is played by Jiho, is clearly the core and most important player of Don High's team composition and they need to shut him down. But then right after saying that, he gets really shocked when he sees on the screen that Jiho is eliminating a bunch of their players easily without any trouble at all. During the ongoing match, Jiho manages to eliminate the enemy players one by one with his superior mechanics and manages to lead his team to win the match again for the second time in a row. After that, the coach of the opposing team walks over to Don High's teacher and asks if they can continue the match after taking a short break. The teacher looks surprised by this request, but the coach explains that Don High is playing too well, and it almost feels like they are hiding something, and he also says that he would like to have a quick talk with one of the students. He then quietly leans closer and asks the teacher if Spiro was once ranked number 1 in one sword, adding that he has a personal connection to that player. A little later, Jiho goes outside to meet the coach and asks him how he found out that he used to be rank 1 in one sword, but the coach simply reaches out his hand for a handshake and reveals that he also used to play one sword in the past. The coach then shares that he was once ranked number 8 in the game, and as soon as Jiho hears that, he immediately recognizes who he is. Jiho then asks him if he can call him young, so the coach says that he looks like this because he aged quickly from all his stress but he is still in his late 20s. The coach then quickly says that if he is not in an organization yet, then he should consider joining him in a brand new pro team. However, when the coach brings up this offer, Jiho tells him directly that he already signed with a professional team, which really surprises the coach, and the coach asks him curiously if it is the famous S91 team that he signed with. After hearing Jiho's response, the coach then reveals some interesting information that a player named Fuming is also playing Swordrust professionally now, and he came over to Swordrust recently from another game, and that this Fuming player was actually looking for Jiho specifically to meet him. After that, the match continues between the two teams and Bonghun High still loses against Don High, who had previously thought that they were going to be a formidable and difficult opponent. On their way back home, the Don High team celebrates their well-deserved victory together except for Changhyun, who is thinking seriously to himself that the game became a complete mess the exact moment that Ari left her position during one of the rounds. After they finish celebrating, Changhyun reveals important information to the team that starting from the next game they play, there will not be any teams that are stronger than the ones they already faced in previous matches. Since then, after signing his professional contract, Jiho had much more free time available again in his schedule, so he became able to do both their team practices with Don High and his individual practices with the professional team at the same time. After that, the team plays another match where Jin Young gets in trouble as he thinks about the time when Jiho gave him strategy notes. In the flashback, Jiho tells him that after he organized it all, he realized that Axa is also an attractive character. Jiho then told him that he used a character who had a similar combination in one sword as a reference to create the note, so it was quick. However, Jin Young asks him that if his character understanding is this good, why don't he play a tank or DPS instead of Spiro, but Jiho replies that he can't play another character when his ID came back as a character. Hearing that, Jin Young thinks that Jiho is saying some useless things now. Back in present, Jin Young gets placed in Hack Arena, which means that lots of users report his abnormal plays. Ari then tells everyone that Hack Arena is a weird system that locks up all the users with abnormal play together, such as hackers or boosters, and forces them to play against each other. Changhyun asks Jin Young directly if he knows anything about hacking or boosting services that could explain his rank changes, but Jin Young quickly says that he has absolutely no idea what this hacking thing means and he was not hacking at all. Jin Young then explains his situation by saying that it was because he was practicing a completely different character by himself in ranked games and got rolled and destroyed multiple times by better players. Hearing this, Ari then says calmly that if it is something that happened to him because he was just practicing new characters, then they really cannot do anything about his rank dropping like that. However, Changhyun responds by saying that the problem is much bigger than they all think right now, and he tells everyone in the group that he is going to look deeply into this matter and investigate it thoroughly. Hearing this, Jiho then says that he is going to ask Jin-A for some help and advice on what to do. Later that same night, Jiho meets up with Jin-A at a quiet location and tries to ask her what would happen if someone got reported and went to the hack arena punishment system, but Jin-A completely freaks out when she hears this and asks him with worry if he is getting hack accusations thrown at him again. After calming down a bit, Jin-A then explains to him that the guy who gets sent there must stay in the hack arena until the hack arena's time limit is completely over before they can leave. Jin-A then asks him if he remember about his old one-sword incident, so he should take this on with the same mindset as that time, and tells him that if he is able to hold on until the time limit is over, she is going to take care of the rest. Jiho tells Jin-A casually that he met the best Pink Panties young player earlier at school, but Jin-A completely freaks out again and asks him with a shocked expression why he would even meet that guy. When she asks this, Jiho explains the situation by saying that he was there working as Bonghun Technical High's coach when they had the friendly match against them last week at the internet cafe, but Jin-A asks him suspiciously if that coach was trying to persuade him to join his professional team instead. Later on after their meeting, Jin-Young and Jiho both decide to play together in the hack arena to help clear Jin-Young's name from the accusations, and Jiho tells him seriously that this is going to be really hard for them because unlike the normal maps they are used to, the hack arena has dangerous cliffs everywhere, so they have to be even more careful with their positioning and movement. Before starting the challenging match against hackers, Jiho sends a quick message to Jin-A through his phone because she told him earlier to let her know before he goes into the hack arena so she can monitor the situation. After sending the message, Jin-Young then invites Jiho to join the hack arena queue together, and then both of them spawn into the dangerous game world where Jiho tells him as an important reminder not to forget to listen carefully for sound cues and pay close attention to ability timings during fights against cheaters. As soon as they start moving around the map, Jiho then finds a bunch of AI creatures wandering around, so he quickly eliminates them to gain some experience points and level up. While exploring further into the arena, Jiho then notices a suspicious player who is clearly using a damage hack to deal way more damage than normal, so he starts thinking to himself that the only thing he can do to survive is decrease the amount of damage he takes without changing his own movement speed at all. After figuring out a strategy, Jiho then defeats the damage hacking guy by outsmarting him with better positioning and dodging his overpowered attacks perfectly with precise timing. Following that hard-fought victory against the cheater, he finds another character with unusually slow attack speed moving around nearby in a suspicious way, so he starts wondering to himself if this player is also using the speed hack as well to compensate for something else they are doing. However, instead of attacking normally, the character just suddenly uses the invisible hack ability and completely disappears from its position, which really surprises Jiho and catches him off guard. Despite being surprised by the invisibility, he quickly uses his special ability to attack the character back at where he thinks they are standing, and as he does this movement, he suddenly remembers a familiar feeling from his old gaming days that he has experienced before. In a flashback, Jiho is actually playing Swordrush in practice mode and trying various different character combinations, thinking to himself that Jin-A lectured him earlier, saying that he only has one single opportunity to prove himself, but for his Spiro character he is going to be going against actual hackers in the arena. As he practices more, Jiho feels furious at hackers in general because this is his first time playing against them in Swordrush, but despite his frustration he is completely determined to defeat each one of them no matter how hard it gets. He then plays with intense focus and manages to defeat a whole bunch of hackers in a single go during his practice runs. He gets really excited when he sees that the rate at which his ultimate skill charges up is absolutely awesome, so that means he is going to be able to use his super counter ability multiple times in fights. Back in the present moment during the actual hack arena match, Jiho thinks to himself that he has to level up his skills and abilities in here again because there are way more users playing Swordrush than there were in the old game One Sword, and that means there are also many more good players and skilled hackers to face. Just then, one of the hacking characters tries to attack Jiho with a whole bunch of different skills without even having the normal cooldowns that should limit their abilities and make them wait. While dodging the rapid attacks, Jiho thinks strategically to himself that if the character's ultimate skill does not have a cooldown timer either, then he only has one single chance to counter this, so he should try to pull in other hacking players as well and take care of them all together in one swoop to be efficient. After thinking about his plan, he then wonders if there is anyone in this hack arena using a crowd control immunity hack that would make them immune to stuns. But then, a suspicious guy appears out of nowhere from the shadows, so Jiho immediately realizes that this player should be the one using the crowd control immunity hack for sure. He then quickly charges towards the hacking character at full speed and thinks to himself that he should pull this guy in first at one of the controlled speeds where he can still keep up with him and not lose track of his position. After that, the character tries to attack Jiho, but he quickly dodges and then, the other characters from before also follows him. On the other hand, Jin Yong is struggling against two hackers at the same time and thinks that his career is over at this point. After that, the enemy characters completely surround Jiho, but he stays calm and thinks that this is the right time to use his ultimate technique, because ever since he became their main target, their movements have started to look simpler and more predictable. He considers pulling back for a moment, but then he realizes that if Jin Yong cannot survive during that time, retreating will be meaningless, so he decides that he has to use Gester instead. He quickly rushes toward one of the characters to force him to use his ultimate skill, and then smoothly moves past him. However, as the fight becomes even more intense, one of the hacking characters suddenly dashes toward Jiho at high speed and activates his ultimate ability to try to finish him off in one move, but at that exact critical moment, Jiho responds with his special counter technique at perfect timing, completely destroying the character and removing him from the match. With that successful super counter move connecting perfectly, all the nearby enemies get stunned by the powerful shockwave effect and cannot move temporarily. Now when Jiho checks the stats, there are only 20 minutes remaining on the timer and only 191 players are left alive in the arena, so Jiho tells Jin Yong urgently to come over here to his position while all the enemies are stunned. It turns out, Jin Yong also got caught in the stun radius and got stunned as well by Jiho's super counter ability which affects everyone. Realizing this, Jiho then tells Jin Yong that when the stun effect wears off, all the hacking enemies are going to target both of them aggressively, so until the arena timer runs out completely, they have to either hold out or kill them all to win. The enemies immediately charge towards them just like Jiho predicted, and Jiho observes carefully and says that they are moving at a normal movement speed, which could mean that it is probably just a damage hack and not a speed hack. As the intense battle keeps going, Jiho and Jin Yong continue taking down more hacking characters one after another, and soon there are only 101 players left alive with 11 minutes still showing on the clock. Jiho tells Jin Yong that in one sword, all they ever had to do was defeat every opponent, but even if that method does not work the same way now, Jin-A has already said that she will handle the rest if needed. As time passes, only 4 minutes remain and, in the end, there are just 2 players left alive, Jiho and Jin Yong. Right after that, Jiho receives a phone call from Jin-A, and she tells him that the person who reported him for hacking in the past was someone known as the Pink Panties Hyung. Jin Yong then thinks that thanks to Hack Arena, he got more used to the timings and sound plays that Jiho taught him about. He believes that ever since he entered the team, he feels like he has only been receiving from Jiho, so he also wants to help him in return. Jin-A tells Jiho that now that they have confirmed for the school competition cup, it might be nice to have a scrim between their schools. Later that day, Changhyun enters the club room to find out that Jiho and Jin Yong is having a talk with the teacher, and Ari tells him that it's all because of the Hack Arena, but for Jiho it was something to do with receiving a lot of outside calls. At that moment, Jiho and Jin Yong also enters the room and Changhyun asks them about the Hack Arena, but Jin Yong says that he swept them all up with Jiho. Changhyun then asks Jiho why he keeps coming up with things to give him fault for and says that he found out that it got settled quickly by looking at his login history. Soyeon then asks them how they managed to survive as there must have been lots of hackers, but Jiho replies that it didn't take long to get used to as their original skills were trash, so it was doable. Changhyun also mentions that Jiho should do better with picking up calls because Gyurup has been calling his number non-stop, but Jiho replies that he was planning on talking this out with the club Oswell, but there were too many calls. Soyeon also adds that it might be helpful to practice on a stream with a lot of viewers because there have been cases of people unable to show their skills because they were too worried about the high view count in the high school competition. However, Changhyun thinks that they do not have any fans to cheer for them at matches since it has not been a long time since their club was first formed at the school, and if they become popular stars like how Gyurup said they would with the streaming exposure, it definitely is not a negative thing for the team. At that moment, the teacher and Woo Jin enter the practice room together and announce some important news that they formally received a practice invitation from the professional team S91 to scrim against them. He then tells them the real important news that is even bigger, which is that their tournament results were officially confirmed for the school competition cup participation, and due to the Industry Academy cooperation project with the professional team S91, the principal has made the decision to establish a vocational class specifically for esports. Afterward, the teacher explains in detail that vocational classes means that they are going to solely focus on the school competition and practicing for tournaments and will not get much time at all for regular academic studies, and if their club becomes restructured into a vocational class like this, it might end up hindering their chances of getting into good colleges in the future. The teacher then specifically asks both Soyeon and Changhyun directly if they are completely okay with this major change to their education, but Soyeon does not look too good when hearing this serious news about their future. Earlier, the principal told the teacher that if they restructure into a vocational class, then Soyeon and Changhyun are going to remain in the general classes despite having good grades. The principal tells the teacher to lead Changhyun and Soyeon well so that they can properly focus on their academics. Back in the present, Soyeon, Changhyun and Ari are sitting together at a cafe having a serious discussion where Ari tells Soyeon not to worry about what others think or decide, as she understands completely that Soyeon has her own personal goals, just like Ari's goal is to become a professional gamer. After Ari says this, Changhyun and Ari then get into a heated argument about what is best for the team and Soyeon's future, but instead of listening to them figure out a way out of this situation, Soyeon decides to quietly leave the cafe without saying anything to either of them. Elsewhere, Jiho, Jinyoung and Woojin are walking back home together after a long day, and Jinyoung says that if they really want to make becoming professional players their actual goals in life, it is not like they are on the faster side or ahead of schedule if they decide to commit right now. Woojin then asks both of them if they want to come over to his house to practice together from now on every day after they finish school classes. When he hears this suggestion from Woojin, Jiho thinks that it is actually a really good idea for improving their skills together, but he wonders out loud how they are going to practice properly as a team since they might need 3 separate computers as well for everyone to play at the same time. When Jiho brings up this legitimate concern about equipment, Woojin reveals with a smile that he actually has more than enough computers at his home already for all of them to use without any problems. Hearing that great news, Jiho gets really excited about the opportunity and says that they all should debut as professional players together as a group, and then he adds that being a PC cafe owner was actually his original dream job before all of this esports stuff happened. On the other hand, Gyurup is going absolutely furious and angry over the fact that Jiho is not picking up his phone calls again despite calling multiple times, so he decides to take a petty revenge by starting a live stream on his channel to expose something. During the live broadcast, Gyurup starts acting all weird to build up suspense and says to his audience that he is going to tell them a secret about someone who they have been asking about for so long. Meanwhile, Soyeon attends her classes like usual, but it is obvious that something else is on her mind and she is deep in thought about how she should proceed from here on out. Just then, one of the girls asks her if she is okay given that she has been spacing out all day long. She assures the girl that she is fine, just has a lot on her mind that day. To lighten the mood, the lady invites her to grab some snacks on the way home together. She excuses herself, telling the lady that she is actually meeting someone later. She thinks that the first years probably made up their minds as their passion for the game is undeniable. Teacher support is the best and it is what they need. All of her teammates are always so sure about themselves, and they know what they want and what to aim for. It is giving her mixed feelings because that is far from how she feels. From day one, she only wanted something simple. Soyeon just wanted to make some good memories with Ari, but after everything that they have been through, it has become so much more than that. Elsewhere, a door opens to a massive room. Jinyoung and Jiho enter Woojin's crazy room with computers and snacks like a gaming cafe with a bed to the side. Jinyoung is right. This kid has some serious issues, man. It is unbelievable that this guy still goes to gaming cafes every day when he has all of this in his own room. The PC setup has Jiho just foaming at the mouth at the sight of this room, and as crazy as it sounds, Jiho goes to gaming cafes because his room does not have a counter where he can pay. Woojin continues that in here there are no part-timers to man the counter, no drink machines whenever he wants a beverage, no standing boards for announcements, and he is basically trembling just thinking about the idea of a gaming cafe. The two choose to ignore the crazy host and talk about how they are going to practice. There is no gaming cafe interface to see how much time you have left. There is no POS system, and he cannot even work part-time in his own bedroom. After that, Jiho simply enjoys the strange and funny exchange happening in front of him. The kid still feels a bit regretful, thinking that he should have cleaned and prepared the room properly before inviting the two of them over, and at this point, he feels completely hopeless about fixing it. While they are still joking around, Changhyun suddenly starts calling Jinyoung. Since Jinyoung and Changhyun almost never talk through phone calls, Jinyoung feels nervous the moment he sees the call, almost like he has a small fear of answering phones. On top of that, Woojin has his own quirks, and he really hates the sound of phone vibrations and ringing tones because he is extremely sensitive to noise. Meanwhile, Changhyun's real purpose for calling is to check whether Jiho and Jinyoung are together right now, and he tells them that they need to look at Gyurup's earlier stream. The two of them quickly open YouTuber to find out what was so urgent that Changhyun had to call. After watching the clip, they realize they need to message him right away, because in the video they see Gyurup with a dark and unsettling expression, clearly threatening to reveal Jiho's identity to everyone. Jin-young watches Gyurup almost every day, but he can tell that Gyurup feels very different today. The streamer is openly saying that he will expose Jiho's secret for the whole world to see, while Woo-jin, on the other hand, does not seem to care much at all. He thinks he is the only sane one in the room. Jiho did not even do anything to warrant this type of attack. For now, they must call Gyurup to know what exactly is going on before taking action. Just typing the guy's number on the phone is already giving Jiho some bad vibes. It has not even fully rung once, and someone already picks up the call with a click. Gyurup did not even pause. That is how much he was expecting to be contacted by his favorite trainee after his stunt. Jiho naturally wants to know what the deal with the announcement is since it was so difficult to reach him. This trash calls it a streamer's method of getting in touch. Jiho lets it be known that this guy is starting to get on his nerves. He just wants to get to the point. Apologizing for pushing his buttons, Gyurup reasons that he was just lying with the announcement, just a harmless lie to grab people's attention, nothing more, nothing less. The two on the other side of the line will not fall for that though. Jin-young chimes in and warns Gyurup that his channel would hit rock bottom if he kept this act up. Covering his butt this time should be impossible, but if that is the case, they better come up with something as soon as possible. He has an idea for a video, and Jiho can either cooperate or this trash bag of a human can just reveal to everyone that he was the rank 1 in one sword. The teacher is stressed because midterms are coming and this is the last session before they launch the vocational course. No matter what happens today, he must keep his composure as their supervisor. In a flashback, the teacher did not let the old man dictate what would happen to the kids as he wanted to consider the possibility of the students standing firm about what they truly want. Seeing the teacher stand his ground did not please the principal. This guy knew it all too well. He was too late to give up on his dreams and accept reality. When he came to terms with reality in the last minute, he did not know if he succeeded. All the time he spent chasing his dreams, he started to think that it was all for nothing. But he believes that their students are mature enough to make the call. Soyeon and Changhyun are both smart and passionate at school. He wants to teach these talented students what it truly means to succeed, and he will be objective when counseling them, but they must let the students choose their own paths. Back in present, teacher meets with the Bonghun High team and asks them if they showed their parents the handouts about the vocational course. Changhyun answers that he did not show it to his parents and Ari already expected something like this from him. Lifting the handout, he already knows how his parents would respond to this. Hearing this, teacher assumes that the kid is opting out of the course, but Changhyun shocks everyone when he says no. This guy will be staying on the team and the course because he found a loophole in the system. Jin-young cannot wait to hear this. Jiho finds their senior cool, and Woo-jin is still waiting for practice. Changhyun wants to sign up as the team's main strategist. If the teacher is going to be the director, then they need someone to take on the coaching role. From the start, he has not taken part in any games, but up to now he has already been acting as the main strategist. There is no reason for that to stop now. This idea might actually work out just fine. Teacher can already feel the wrath of the principal coming at them, but it is better to ask for forgiveness than permission. He wants to respond with as much passion as these kids are putting in. Changhyun really is the weirdest member here if you ask Ari. Jin-young has been officially converted as Changhyun's fan, but Jiho and Woo-jin on the other hand want to beat up their buddy for acting out of character. While they are celebrating that wonderful news, one person is obviously not feeling the vibe. Soyeon is not in the exact same position as Changhyun as she is in a tougher spot than anyone in the room, and the team needs her answer right this moment. Teacher understands and he already anticipated this decision coming from her, but the first years are still confused. They thought that they can just keep on doing what they were doing. Jin-young wants to convince her that even if it is because of academic reasons, she can take on the manager role like Changhyun stepping in as a coach. But she has made up her mind, and she does not want to keep doubting and second-guessing herself anymore. Jin-young has nothing to answer for that. However, Changhyun understands that this is an emotional moment for the team, but Soyeon reassures them that this is not too bad. They will still see each other around school, and she also promises to come over a lot to hang out, so they should welcome her with a smile like always. The teacher steps in and advises him to give Soyeon some space that she desperately needs. But before going back into the room, the teacher sees just how affected his student really is. Soyeon just had to make a possibly life-altering decision in that room. A few moments later, someone comes while cheerfully walking through the halls of Bonghun High. These steps are coming closer to the club room, leading the team to believe that the teacher is coming back. After that, everyone just stares at the entrance gate, but it turns out that it's not the teacher but a blonde-haired girl. Changhyun tells everyone that he thought they would need more people if they changed to a vocational class, so he called her over. However, Ari gets furious at him for not discussing this with her, but Changhyun just says that she herself told him not to discuss much. The girl quickly says that it looks like Ari is upset because she is just too pretty, and then the girl walks over to Jiho and grabs his shoulders, saying she heard that there was an entrance test and the condition was to defeat the president of the club. The girl then tells everyone that she wants to take the test so bad, and then she asks Woo Jin if he wants to play with her, and Woo Jin quickly agreed. Changhyun quickly says that since they are not a club anymore, there are no entrance tests, but Ari gets angry at him and says that there is a test, and they have to see her skills first. After that, the girl and Woo Jin play a practice match together to test each other's skills, and the girl gets really surprised when she finds out that Woo Jin is actually playing a healer character, even though he looked and moved like a DPS damage dealer player to her. Watching from the side, Jiho notices that both of them have taken characters that are extremely difficult to pilot and require high mechanical skill. As the match progresses, the girl then manages to dodge Woo Jin's incoming attack with good reflexes and tries to hit him back with a counterattack immediately, but surprisingly, Woo Jin saw that opening in her movement and hits her first instead with better timing. The intense match keeps going between the two skilled players, and while carefully watching and analyzing her gameplay, Jiho realizes that she even makes small and careful movements on purpose to mess up her opponent's skill timings, and if she is planning to keep attacking his back again and again until his defensive skill finally comes off cooldown, then that shows very smart decision making from her side. Ari quietly thinks that the new girl is actually not bad at the game at all, but Changhyun tells her not to make comments that sound dismissive just because of her pride, since the girl had already told him earlier that in her previous school, before she transferred here, she was the best DPS player on their entire team. Jiho then thinks to himself that if Woo Jin can play this well while using DPS, which is not even his main role, then he has done a good job too, even though he is still slightly lacking compared to someone who truly mains DPS. Just then, Gina suddenly arrives and asks Jiho if he is not ready yet, and everyone else in the room becomes completely shocked when they see her in person. When Gina arrives to pick him up, Gina then grabs Jiho's hand firmly and tries to take him outside the school building right away, but Jiho tells her with a grin that there is still a lot of time left before they need to leave for practice. He then says to her that right now it is an important moment in the club room and he absolutely cannot lose this golden opportunity to make fun of someone for the rest of their entire life. When she hears him say that, Gina tells them that it is true that he really cannot give those kinds of rare opportunities up, so she will go down to the car first and wait, and he should come back quick after he is done teasing. After getting permission from Gina, Jiho then runs back excitedly to the club room where everyone is gathered and tells everyone there that he had some extra time left before he needs to leave, so he came back specifically to make fun of Woo Jin for whatever embarrassing thing happened. After the match ends and Jiho comes back to the room, Ari suddenly bursts out laughing and tells him that right after he left earlier, Woo Jin actually lost the match on purpose because the new girl was not paying proper attention to the game. The blonde girl then steps forward and politely introduces herself as Li Chaiwan, and she clearly tells Jiho that she wants to play a match against him as well so she can test his skills herself. After watching her play against Woo Jin, Jiho honestly says that her skills are very good and impressive for someone their age, and because of that, Changhyun quickly decides to accept her into the group as a new member without any hesitation. Following that decision, Chaiwan then introduces herself properly to everyone in the room, which made Changhyun start thinking to himself that she might be pretending to be humble and modest, but her actual skills were good enough to back up any confidence she might have. After her introduction is complete, Changhyun then mentions to the whole team that Chaiwan transferred to their school, which has recently transitioned into a vocational class for esports, because she also dreams of becoming a professional player just like the rest of them, so everyone should get along with her and work together as teammates. All of a sudden, Jiho remembers that Gina is waiting for him downstairs, so he quickly runs outside without wasting any time. When he gets there, he sees that a large group of Gina's fans are gathered outside, waiting to catch a glimpse of her, so he has to struggle through the crowd to finally reach the van. During the ride, Gina tells Jiho that she has always wanted to go on a date with him, but she never had the right chance to say it before. About an hour later, Gyurup goes online and publicly apologizes to everyone for what he did, and he openly admits that he only used clickbait to attract more viewers. Just then, Jiho arrives at his doorstep with a manager, and he is wearing his Spiro mask again, and Gyurup gets scared straight away. Before even stepping into the streaming camera frame, Jiho has already grown tired of Gyurup's behavior. Going back a few minutes, the manager imposes restrictions on anything defamatory towards Jiho. She decides to come here in person to confirm what exactly the reveal will be, and if this turns out to be privacy infringement, S91 will not hesitate to press charges against the streamer. The manager wants to ensure there will not be any deviation from the content reported to S91. Gyurup also has to clear the unnecessary hype right away. Gyurup explains that Jiho's streams performed exceptionally well with lots of views and positive feedback, and he only planned to create regular content, except he thought he would add excitement to hype up his viewers. With an absurd graphic on his back, he addresses his viewers who are dreaming of becoming pro. He announces his search for the next super rookie. Gyurup sets the prize at 10 million won to kickstart the Mega Rookie Challenge. Jiho is taken back by the large prize pool. The rule is simple. All the viewers have to do is win against Jiho, the super trainee. Jiho sets a condition. He will participate only if Gyurup beats him in a 1 vs 1. This stops Gyurup in his tracks. Jiho takes a seat and says he will log in right away. Jiho wants to invite another Sword Rush streamer and have a 2 vs 1. Gyurup quickly decides that he will be using Glakusa, a support hero that excels in acceleration, and his duo partner is the gaming streamer Odding, controlling the DPS Utman. He gets into the room without knowing who they are facing. Gyurup tells him they will fight the S91 trainee who came on his channel last time. Jin A advises Jiho to pick an offensive support that counters the enemies, and his hero will be Jin B, a support that is well-rounded in every stat. He plans to deal with the DPS first as fast as he can. The initial collision is easily dodged as Utman's attack hits nothing but the ground. This opens the Cyborg Ape to some critical counterattack openings. Odding acknowledges that this first attack is unreal. Meanwhile, on Gyurup's chat, someone pledges 200,000 won if the duo wins. Using this fast hero, Jiho riddles Utman with countless attacks at breakneck pace. To add insult to injury, Jiho even unequips Genevi's spear while telling the two to take their time. Gyurup tells Odding to toss their strategy out. They will just charge right in. As the target of this two-angle assault, he can easily predict the enemy's limited moves. He starts with Utman, and Glakusa follows suit, trying to slash through while Jiho is distracted. That turns out to be a failure as Gyurup eats a spear slash to the face. Odding is low on health. Jiho's Jin B would rather pummel the DPS even further with his relentless barrage of attacks. Odding scrambles and retreats to the other side of the map. Jiho leaps to make chase without hesitation. Odding starts it off with his ground skill again. However, Lieutenant Cannon's arm has also locked onto poor Jin B. Genevi's movement skill has finally come up. Jiho unleashes an electrifying spear stab that paralyzes Utman, canceling the monkey's ultimate, and Odding realizes that this might be the end for them. Jiho activates another electric skill that crackles through the spear. A massive explosion of electricity deletes the DPS from the game. Gyurup's freezing floor has yet to reach Jiho's range, and he admits he might have struggled if they did the strategy right from the start. This rotten streamer is in a bind right now. He is about to lose with his money-making idea on the line, so he might as well aim for more donations while putting on a show. The first 10,000 won donation notices that Jiho has been one-tapping his keys to dodge every skill. Jiho leaves the streaming room while Gyurup is going insane, thinking that he tried to keep public sentiment on his side by not picking a healer character, but now he is going to end up losing both the match and his viewers' respect. After calming down a bit, he then walks over to where Jiho is getting ready to leave and asks him politely if they can talk privately after he turns off the live stream completely. Back at the school club room, Chaiwan is really surprised to see just how good Jiho really is at the game, because she believes that both Gyurup and Odding are both Grandmaster rank players with tons of experience, but still Jiho managed to win the match easily against them without much trouble. When she expresses her surprise, Wu Jin tells her the secret that it is because Jiho was actually rank 1 in the previous game, won sword before switching to Swordrush, and at that exact moment when she hears this information, she suddenly realizes with shock that Jiho is actually the legendary Spearow player everyone talks about. Meanwhile, Gyurup is still desperately trying to convince Jiho to play with him more because he really wants to defeat him and restore his reputation, but Jiho asks him curiously how he even knew that he was rank 1 in one sword in the first place. When asked this question, Gyurup says with confidence that it was actually pretty obvious to figure out because Spearow was running around smashing everyone's heads like a champion in his unique aggressive style. He then reveals that Changhyun was the first one to ask him whether he was the one sword rank 1 or not, so that is how he got to know that. Gyurup further says that it would be much easier if he just revealed everything, so why is he hiding all that? But Jiho says that he is worried as the moment it becomes known, even if he wants to enjoy Swordrush itself, he won't be able to do that. Gyurup then asks Jiho desperately to give him just one more chance to prove himself, because there is a way for him to enjoy Swordrush even more than he currently does, and he tells him excitedly that they are going to find more highly skilled players online and smash their heads just like he used to do before in one sword. Meanwhile, Chaiwan and Wu Jin are playing Sword Rust together on their own computers for 45 minutes straight without taking any breaks at all. After playing for so long, Wu Jin then decides to get up and go check on Jin Yong, who went to the washroom a while ago and has not come back yet. Inside the washroom, he finds 3 bullies who are trying to pick on Jin Yong and intimidate him in the corner. When he sees this situation, Wu Jin tries his very best to hold back his anger and not fight because his dad told him strictly to stay out of trouble at school. One of the bullies then walks up and slaps Wu Jin hard across the face to provoke him, but then suddenly the teacher enters the washroom and asks them sternly what they are all doing in the faculty restroom area. Once the teacher leaves, Wu Jin finally snaps and beats up all the bullies badly to teach them a lesson, and while he is teaching them not to mess with his friends, Jin Yong is just watching everything happen from the sides without interfering. The next day, Jiho and Jin Yong are walking to school when a boy suddenly stops them and asks Jiho if he was the one getting into Jin A's car yesterday. Both Jiho and Jin Yong feel shocked when they realize that people have actually taken pictures and posted them on Instagram, so Jin Yong quickly searches it up and sees that those posts already have a huge number of likes. He tells Jiho that compared to posts from somewhat popular streamers like Gyurup, these pictures have almost 50 times more likes than what they usually get. Just then, a group of other boys gathers around them and excitedly asks Jiho to get them Jin A's autograph, saying they are desperate to see her at least one more time. Meanwhile, Changhyun overhears some boys talking loudly about how a few first-year students were beaten up badly by someone they call local, and hearing that makes Changhyun immediately wonder if they are actually talking about Wu Jin being involved in another fight. The boys further continue talking about how that guy used to be a delinquent troublemaker before coming to this school, and he also has a visible scar on his face which makes him look scary, so hearing all of this information makes Changhyun even more furious and worried about the team's reputation. Just then at that moment, Ari suddenly barges into the classroom looking really angry because someone ruined her PE uniform by drawing on it or damaging it somehow, but Changhyun tries his best to calm her down quickly and tells her that she should not cause a big scene here as this is not their own classroom and they are guests. Later at the school cafeteria, Wu Jin, Chaiwan, Jiho and Jin Yong are all sitting together and enjoying some lunch and talking casually, and during their conversation Chaiwan asks Jiho curiously if he will not be able to concentrate properly on the game if other people find out about him working and training with the famous Jin A. Jin Yong then tells Jiho that he once saw Wu Jin fighting some boys in the restroom, but he speaks so loudly that people passing by start hearing him, and soon they begin whispering about how Wu Jin must really be a local delinquent. Just then, Chaiwan gets a text message from Ari saying that she wants everyone to meet in the club room as soon as school ends. After school is over, Ari and Changhyun try to talk to Wu Jin about the fight and the rumors that are now spreading everywhere. While they are discussing it, Ari receives another message from Soyeon asking if something serious happened, because she heard that the Parent-Teacher Association is planning to oppose the Sword Rust vocational class due to the recent violence rumors. When Changhyun sees this message, he takes Wu Jin up to the rooftop to talk privately about the Parent-Teacher Association problem, and he tells Wu Jin that he needs to take responsibility for what happened and leave the team. Do you think Jiho will be able to reclaim his throne as the world's best player? Comment one sword if you'd like a part 2 of this series. Make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more sports manhwa recap.